Good.
Sir, can you please make me co-host?
Yeah, I'm doing now.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Hey guys, very good evening, good morning, good afternoon.
Good evening, sir.
Hey, good evening.
So I hope you are doing good. Good weekend. I hope you have a good week. So, like, any further questions we require to discuss? Anything and
Yes,
thing-
sir, Ashish here. I have queries like I pinged you multiple times. So can I share my screen and regarding the Jenkins?
Okay. Yeah, I can hear you. No, you you're trying for the Java, right?
Yes,
It says like Java not found.
Recording in progress.
correct. So I'll share my screen and just have a look because everything is set up.
Yeah, sure. You might have multiple Javas. That's what I told to you,
No,
right?
only one Java I have.
Okay. Share your screen, please.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, I can see you.
So if I go to no, hold on for a second. So I've given path JDK and same.
Okay. No, you have a JDK 11 and you have a JRE. While Jenkins installation, it won't take like both. So it says like unable to found your JDK. That's what I told you.
It's giving error from Maven because Maven is working fine here. Because in the path I'm getting this path only.
Okay, that's good. Like just open where you download the Maven.
Okay.
Just open a command prompt. Yeah, use no MVN.
Yeah, I have no system.
Okay, so Apache Maven, it is then C/ and the Java version it is there. It is taking JDK. Okay, just enter MVN. Just a space. Just don't enter anything. Just enter MVN and enter.
Space, right?
No, nothing. Just enter. Okay, perfect. So Maven is working in Maven working and Java is also working. And enter
Yes.
Java C, just simple Java C. You can close this now. Looks good.
I'm to my Jenkins and
Okay.
manage Jenkins.
Okay.
Configure tool.
Okay. No, global tool configuration.
Yeah.
No, first go to the remove this thing. Git is not required. It comes as a default. Go to the Java. No, first go to the Java.
Okay.
Okay. Looks good. Yeah.
Same path which is also Java.
Okay, fine. No problem. Okay.
Then in Maven, same which is working fine.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. It is on Windows only, right?
It's Windows only.
Okay. Just go to the any freestyle job.
Yeah.
Just enter. Go to the dashboard. Okay. Open the job. Configure. Now go to the configure. Okay, Git repositories.
Traditions one is
Okay.
the open source.
Yeah, not required. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
Simple, like nothing else, right? I mean, Maven came install.
Windows batch commands. Okay. Yep.
Windows batch command.
Perfect. Apply.
Yes.
Do build now. Open that job. Console output.
Says Maven is not recognized.
So you usually did you do that this thing? Did you add Maven as a environmental variable?
Yes, I can show you that also.
If you have that, it won't come.
See, I have.
No, bin not bin. No, just click that edit. Remove the bin. Just okay.
Okay, see, Maven home was there. So they're like, say, Maven home I added separately. Then.
Okay, perfect. But it's working fine actually. But okay, do one thing. Just do you have a Gamma cut in your local or any other you have in local?
I have a local, I have clone that.
Okay, just open that. Go to the. It should not come. Okay, go back. Go to the Jenkins. So .c program data Jenkins workspace restyle. So if MVN has been not set properly, like our Maven is like if you're not able to set properly environmental variables or something, then that will be caused actually this problem. It says like it's unable to found Maven, but you already set it up, right? Again, go to the plugins, just install Maven plugin. This is weird. Just enter Maven. So they are checking some errors, update sites. No, available plugins only. There you have Maven pipeline separately. Scroll down a little bit. Do I have any Maven pipelines? Okay, install the first one. Yeah, Maven integration. Yeah, install that with a restart. Yeah, just restart now. No, not. Okay. Restart the Jenkins when installation complete. Click on that one, please. No, click on that restart thing. And also there are some kind of these things, some errors with your Jenkins. You have to update that also. Make sure that you're not any error related to the plugins. But I've not seen any error. It seems like something again you might require to install one time, but I didn't see any problem related for you. There's the admin account or any other account? I have managed Jenkins. Fine. Go to the manage Jenkins. Configure which no, go up a little bit. Exception those and all, not big deal. Okay, go to the new item here. No, not required. Go to the new item. Just let me see if you have a Maven. Go up. No, go up. New item. Click on the Maven project. No, Maven second one. Take an click on that. Take a name. Just any name, whatever you want. Click on OK. Scroll down. You have to I don't see any problem with this setup. Might be you have to do to refresh all those things once. Git repository was able to do, but Maven was not unrecognized command. Remove that one. Just build a step. Yes. Enter gold, MVN clean, install. Yeah. No, second one. Yeah, goals. Yes. MVN clean install. Scroll down. No, just remove that. You can remove that one. So no problem. Let it key. Scroll down. Okay, just save and run. Run now. Build now. If this also causes the problem into set, then again you have to do the entire setup freshly. Click on that one. Go to the console output. See, Maven this time it is taking for the project for the Maven and unknown lifecycle phase. Okay, just give Maven install. It is taking that Maven. So something with your previous setup actually. A configure over there. Just give install. Okay, scroll. Just click on the question mark. Click on the question mark. Yeah, just remove the Maven and use clean install. Save. No, just save and build now. Scroll down a little bit down. And now open and check. It is working fine now. But value pipelines, maybe something it is not taking. I think it's better if you just do clean everything and rebuild things. Remove the Java, remove the Maven and the Jenkins as well. Remove all those things and reinstall everything. Maybe something I am not sure what causes that. But Maven and Java working from your Jenkins. Setup is also looks like good only. It is downloading all from Maven Central. It will happen. It's a success, no problem. No, it's something issue. I'm not 100% sure like what happened on these freestyles and pipelines. Maybe you have to do better, like, if you just remove and clean everything and try to install again. Okay. So any other questions, guys?
Hello. So,
Yes.
sir, I have to like reinstall Jenkins again, or like entire Java, everything, Maven, everything.
Try to do entire thing, like just take it up Jenkins, take it up Maven, take it up Java, and freshly install all those things. Check like any in C drive program files, any of the data, any of the related data, something has been pending. Have to remove everything. Then only it will be like something. It's kind of, maybe I'm not 100% sure. Maybe some kind of communication configuration setup, mismatching with that. So. But I can see Java is also working and Maven is also working with this configuration.
Because like I'm not sure. Like, okay, I'll just try to reinstall the Jenkins and Java again, and I'll get back to you tomorrow then on this if it doesn't work, because I'm also clueless.
Yeah, but anyway, that's the reason I went on the Maven integration separate, specifically on Maven. If it is other than the Maven, we can't do anything. Like if you have Maven, we can have like separate kind of thing. Like you can specifically check Maven kind of thing. That's the reason I've tried like this way.
Okay, like I will try to reinstall all thing again, and I'll
make sure that you don't left anything in there. Just you have to see the program data and you have to see the program files as well. Check any Jenkins related, any Java related, anything. Just remove all the complete thing and verify, double check, and restart the system. Then again install each and everything. Then restart the system once.
Okay. Okay, sir. I will give a try.
Yep. Thank you. So any other question?
Or is there any example of Docker with the Jenkins? Like, can give a.
Yeah, you can. That's what we'll do. But where are we in last week? Sorry, I lost. Like, where are we in last week?
We finished Docker last week.
So we completed Docker in last week. Okay, so but we integration with the pipelines, integration with that was not happened, right?
Correct.
Okay, let it be done. That won't be a big deal now. We will take that before the day session related to the Jenkins, all those things. So I thought like I told Ansible or like Kubernetes. That's what I remember. Like we want Ansible or we want Kubernetes kind of thing. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll go on Kubernetes. Just let me know once you're able to see my screen.
Yeah, I can.
Guys, come on. Any other questions? Did you practice well, or like have any questions? Anything related in a previous session?
Not right now. I'll post a message.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you properly.
Siva Pragna here. I
Yes,
actually
madam.
did not attend Sunday's recording, but I will go through that. I did not get time. But though
Sure.
I attended Saturday's the evening, I mean the complete session, which we ended with the Docker installation. So I had the
Yes.
doubt that we have to install it via. I mean, you used Amazon EC2, but we have to? Is it a mandatory to install from there, or we can install it separately?
Separately mean to say where?
Separately, I mean Docker for Windows is not possible, is it?
No, we have a Docker. That's what I told in the session as well. So we have a Docker for the Windows as well that we call Docker Desktop. But that is also like it will be there on the like Windows 10 onwards. That it will be installed WSL. I mean to say there is also a kind of Linux system will be installed that you call WSL.
Mhm.
That will be installed as a kind of one more entity, one more separate OS kind of thing on your OS, on
Okay.
your Windows. And
Mm.
a Docker desktop will be installed on that only. So it won't come as like in a C drive kind of program file. It's not like that one.
But I can go
Yeah,
with that,
you
right?
can. Yeah, you can download that and you can do that. But
Or
you know why
otherwise,
I told
yeah.
no why I told the other reason, right? Like most of the times you're going to work Docker on the Linux environments only.
Yes.
So if you do it in Windows, I don't know how much I never like I was using that, but it is a kind of you won't give that such a feasibility where you're doing. But most of the activities you do in it's easy to like Linux based kind of thing. So
Yes. Yes.
better if you practice in that way, it makes you comfortable in the
But
real
then
time.
I have to, I mean, do it your way. Like you, I mean, you logged in, created account in AWS, and then
Yeah, you have to do that. So
that.
now even
Yeah. Sure.
Kubernetes, we are going on that. Ansible also, we are going on that one. Even
Yeah.
like monitoring tools, we are going on that one. So everything we are going to use EC2 instances as well. That's the reason I told like in a very first class, you guys has to prepare EC2 instances. So
Yeah.
further wherever we are going on, we required to take it up that.
Okay, then I will. Yeah, I will take care of that. Yes. Thank you, Shiva.
Yeah. So now onwards, everything will be take it up in this thing only from like Max, Ubuntu, Linux, or any kind of things like we will take it up. Because now
Okay.
onwards, we're required to do collaboration with the Linux environment because most like 99.9% your servers will be there. Very rare case until unless if it's a .NET project, maybe like you are using some Windows services kind of thing. That is the only chance you're getting. You're going to work on the remote desktop things, or else you're definitely going to work on the Linux systems only.
Okay. Yes. Understood. Yeah. Thank you, Shiva, for clarifying.
Okay, so good. Any other questions, guys?
Hi, Shiva. This is Prasanna.
Hi, hello, madam.
Shiva, in Jenkins pipeline project, is it possible to run from any one particular stage?
Yeah, you have option. So once you open Jenkins, you have an option to run it from the some particular stages as well. So it will run like if you want to ignore 1-2 steps, you can do that. That it you have directly in pipeline itself. Like
Can you show it, Shiva?
yeah. Give me a minute. Let me. You have option for that one in the pipeline itself. You have option. It's not something separate thing.
Okay.
Let's see. So anyone is ready with your Jenkins open and pipeline ran 1 or 2 times? Then I can show you directly. Anyone ready with the environment? Because it required to max run one or 2 times, or else you can't get. I think I don't have this thing. Okay.
Shiva, mine is ready. Shiva, can I share the screen?
Yeah, you can share your screen.
1 minute.
Yeah, can you go to the Jenkins, please? Yeah, can you go
Yes.
to the pipeline, please?
This one?
Yes. Okay, just go to the. Okay, go to another pipeline. Just click on the pipeline, please.
This one?
No, here. For you ran this thing, right? Like
Yes.
fourth one. Yeah.
Yes, in
Click on the
stage
fourth
3.
one. No, click on the fourth one, please.
Fourth one, yes.
Yeah, click on the fourth. Ash 4 is there, right? That's hyperlink.
Yes, 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 1 minute, Shiva.
Okay.
Okay,
Restart from the stage. You can click on here. No.
here.
Yeah.
Here it is showing restart from stage.
Yeah. Now you can set it up what stage you want to have. We can check on that one.
Okay, then we'll run it.
So now again, it will automatically change your things.
Okay,
So see,
yes.
like a stage 3 all not happens.
Yes, okay, sure. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions? So any other questions, guys? Anything?
Shiva, good evening.
Yes, sir.
Shiva, I have no idea about how to install a Jenkins in instance, AWS instance, because I'm working previously in Windows basically.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not able to how to install a Jenkins and how to start and how to look at how to start a job or anything else.
No, like it won't have any much differences. The installation part is like a little bit tough, little bit vary. You can directly go to the Jenkins and you can see that. Did you check anything on the Jenkins installation part there? You can see here Jenkins.
No, I am not doing anything because I have don't idea about how to install or how
No.
to get in the Linux.
You have to little bit search with that. Okay, see here they gave entire thing. Like if you go to the Ubuntu, they'll give you all these things. Okay.
Okay,
So
sure.
they gave you like what you have to do, like what you have to take it up the things all this way. You can do this, and once this has been happened, like you can directly use your like URL and with the port.
Okay.
Okay, you are on port now as a 8080 thing, and you can utilize the port and you can run that one.
Okay.
Anyway, like maybe after like Ansible, I'll take it up Java Jenkins from the AWS only. That time like I'll integrate Docker with Jenkins, all those things. That time I'll show like the how you can
but in case of just like an instance, we are going to install a Ubuntu, then we are also required the installation of Java. No, JDK
yeah,
is
everything,
also
yes,
required, right?
Yeah, you have to do that.
Okay, so first of all, we can go to install a JDK, then you can go to install a Jenkins, right? With the help of command, right?
Yes, that's a prerequisite. See here, they told software requirements. You have to see like Java requirement. Definitely, you require Java.
Okay.
Okay, that's 100% prerequisites. You cannot go without prerequisites.
Okay. Got it.
Any other questions? So I hope like I can take the silence as no questions. Okay, I don't want to hear like no, I got confusion, I not this thing or something. I hope you guys are clear with these things. Okay.
Shiva, I am also not able to install Jenkins and other things. I have tried from AWS, but it gave me some error and unable to install. And even now, I am unable to delete that instance also.
Show me your screen.
Just give me 2 minutes. Yeah.
I'm responding to the most of the questions, but
Let me open those.
I'll ping me error screenshots in the group. I'll check that one.
Ansuman, you can share your screen.
Yeah, I'm trying to actually. I'm logging into AWS now. I was closed that thing, so I'm logging in now. So, some time.
Yep. So you can ping me the screenshot. No worries. I'll check that one.
Yes, I'll do that.
Yeah. So today we're going to discuss about the Kubernetes. What is Kubernetes? Kubernetes is an open source container orchestration tool. It's a open source container it's a open source it's an open source container orchestration tool. So what is mean by the first thing, what is mean by the orchestration? So orchestration is nothing but in our language we call it as a management. Nothing but you're going to manage your containers. A tool required for to manage your containers. So but anyway, I have a Docker. What is like versus Docker? What is the differences between the Docker versus what are the differences between Docker and Kubernetes? So Docker is a container engine tool, which is been providing you out where you can create the containers, all those things. Now, with the help of a Docker, with the help of any container engine, you're going to manage your containers in a better and efficient way. So you're going to do that in a better and efficient way, that like networking wise and port forwarding wise are like creating more these things are like creating a cluster way. Cluster is the one or more like one or more instances has been adding, so that you can host your applications like with the proper configuration things. That is the differences. So when you're running a Kubernetes, you require it when you require when you're running a Kubernetes, you require a Docker engine. So we require a container engine. Okay, but Kubernetes has removed the Docker like a so yep, I'll go on that. Okay. Yeah. So Kubernetes is nothing but a container orchestration tool, a management tool. If you're required to create a container, it required to have a container engine. Okay. So Docker or any of other container engine, you must require on that one. So with the help of that thing only, you're going to orchestrating the things like it created a platform for you to host your application, to run your applications more and efficient way. Okay, that is a one differences between those two things. Okay,
Shiva, that means a Docker and Kubernetes. Docker is basically it is a container engine, right?
yes,
And Kubernetes is the manage of the container, just like a Kubernetes is a manage of the Docker's created container or anything, right?
exactly.
Okay.
It is developed by Google. And it developed by Google and donated to CNCF. CNCF is nothing but Cloud Native Computing Foundation. So this is the Cloud Native Computing Foundation. This is a CNCF. So this is one of the organization. So these guys just help you to create your all they are the responsible for your Kubernetes latest versions, all any of the other things you require to have. Like they have, see here, they have like around 94 sandbox projects and 38 incubating projects and 20 graduating projects. So if you see that 94 kind of sandbox projects, they have like a very these are all what we call cloud native tools. These are the cloud native tools. Here if you see it, right, it's a container SSH, like a container SSH, and you have like like lot of image build, Caravel, Carnia. These are like a lot of tools they're also providing, and they can directly you can configure that with your Kubernetes. These are all purely on the top of the Kubernetes. You can add any of those things. These are all the sandbox level projects they get given, and also they have other projects like you can see that this company, like these are the incubating projects. So this is a build pack now, like this one recently I've integrated with my company thing. So now you're requiring like for the Docker, right? You're going on the Docker file and creating Docker image, and you're doing all these things. And based on that, you provide in the Docker image, you're providing you're providing the application, say like you're providing the jar kind of thing. So without all those things, it is a very simple tool, like which has been taking up very easily. Other than the Docker, you're not required a kind of entire Docker. It will take everything in the background. That is also one of other these things. Okay, so Istio, Service Mesh, and these are also kind of thing. Knative, KDA. These are all most of the things like are very famous tools, but these are all incubating projects, which one comes as a cloud native foundations, cloud native computing foundation things. Okay. So now everything is maintained by the CNCF only. So first thing, what is like Kubernetes is a kind of weird word. What is like how what is the meaning of that? Even Docker is also a thing, but we don't know like some kind of words. These nothing but it's a Greek word. Nothing but captain of the ship. It's a captain of the ship. You call it as captain of the ship. Yeah. It's a captain of the ship. Even if you see their logo, if you see this, if you see the logo, they'll give us a wheel, which is usually like in the ship captains usually have option to rotate their ship kind of things. This is the wheel kind of thing. They usually drive the things like a ship, the entire things. They'll rotate left or right go things. Their entire thing is being managed by this kind of wheel, but this purely in control of the captain. So that is what they're saying, like whatever the Docker containers you have, a ship contains Docker container, a ship contains some kind of I have a ship, that ship have like a lot of containers, and a captain managing that ship, how you have to take, where you have to deliver, how this can be happens, all those kind of. This is the kind of background they created a link for your kind of containers and to the Kubernetes. Even you have many Kubernetes has been onboarded into the ship, and now captain will take care of the where it is to be delivered kind of things. So the same thing they replicated into the real time into the technical world to situations as say now you have a Docker containers. That containers is managed by the managed where to be delivered or where it has to be run, where it has to be killed, where it has to be deployed. All those things you can manage it by a kind of Kubernetes. So Kubernetes is nothing but the captain of the ship, like how you are taking up, how he has the entire authority to the their applications or entire platform kind of thing. That is also similar. They brought it up kind of things. Okay. So if you see that Kubernetes, right? Some people call it as K8s. Nothing but Kubernetes only. If you see this, these are the 8 letters in between. The 8 letters they removed and they give it as a K8s. Okay, they removed this kind of thing. they removed that 8 letters, and instead of that they added KDS that you can call Kubernetes as well. So that is also shorter form. They write it up like this thing. Okay. So as I told, it is a cluster management. It's a cluster. It is a cluster. In this cluster, usually you have manager and worker. Or you can call this as a control plane. And you can call it as a worker, or you can call it as a control plane. You can call it as any of the thing. Like you can call any of the thing. Like, okay, so but it is a manager and worker. So similarly, like you're going to create, or like some people called or some people call it as master nodes. Master and worker, manager or worker, control plane or worker. Many people call it as a different thing. Even worker also, they call it as R nodes, like workers. Anything in terms of the perspective, they call it as all nodes. They can call master nodes, they can call worker nodes, they can call control plane nodes, they can call it as a manager nodes. Anything they can call. But these are all the what you require at least 3 managers, 3 masters, and a worker based on your application capacity, application load. Based on that capacity, you can go on that one. So what 3 masters do, right? Like 3 masters is mandate, like it's not a mandatory kind of thing, but as a standard practice you will create. Because one master, like entire master, right? Your master node will have, like, entire master will be maintain the cluster. So if your master goes down, then you won't have the cluster. You cannot access the cluster. So that's the reason what they do. Like as a standard practice, best practice, they'll always create 3 masters. That's a minimum. So until unless if you have a huge number of, like, suppose you have like 400 plus worker nodes, then you going to create 1 more master. Other than that, 3 masters as the common and standard practice. Okay. So I'll tell you, like, when we were discussing about the architecture, we will discuss about more on these things. So any questions here?
So yeah, 3 masters are not mandatory, because what I have worked on, 3 masters, 2 master, even a single master and few worker nodes. In lab deployment, I was in telecom industry.
So that's what I told, right? Like it's not
Yeah.
mandatory, but that's a standard practice. If you have 1 worker, 1 master node, if you go that master node goes down, that's it. Your cluster was gone.
Yes.
And that's what I told. Like it's not a standard practice, but that's a standard practice, not mandatory. It's a standard practice. If you say in interview, like I'm working on 1 master, then the next question, what is your backup plan and what is a cluster? Like if cluster goes down, how you are rectifying the cluster? There's a lot of questions, and that say like you're not working on a proper environment. It leads to you're not working on the real time environment. If you have if you say 1 worker node, 1 master node kind of thing, they say like, okay, you're working on some other POC project, so you're not eligible kind of thing. So if you see the key features of orchestration tools, actually of the Kubernetes kind of thing, first one is high availability. Or no downtime. Or else scalability. Or high performance. Or like a disaster recovery, DR. Or backup and restore. So these are the common 3 major features. There are like they have plenty, but they're majorly pointing out to these 3. So if you see the first one, it is high availability. What is mean by the high availability? What is mean by the high availability? Okay, so you guys remember, right? Like I asked the question, like in previously. So suppose how many of you are using internet banking, like from HDFC or ICICI kind of thing? Okay, if you're using that any of these banks, quite commonly you receive like your bank application have a downtime. We are upgrading our systems, and due to that, you have a downtime from this time to time, like night 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock or 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock. You have a downtime, and you cannot access our application in that particular time. They say like we are upgrading, we're upgrading, we're upgrading, and you have a downtime. You have downtime. So this is a common, like if you are using like Axis Bank, if you are using HDFC or ICICI Bank, you across get like at least every 3 months you'll get it, like 3 to 4 months you get a similar message. Okay, and suppose there is a failure happen, it will take like longer time to they respond. Then again they'll roll back the futures, they won't do the futures, all kind of things. So like that will have like 3 to 4 hours or 4 to 5 hours downtime for your like for your application again to rerun and like checking that futures or taking up that new changes. All those things may take some time to respond. But with the Kubernetes, with the help of Kubernetes, you're not required to maintain any downtime. Like downtime will be like max and max they give 3 minutes. That's the worst timeline. They give you like 3 minutes of downtime, are like a high availability. Max, it never goes your, that's what they told, it never goes your application down. Or if your application go, like while you're doing a deployments or if you're going upgrading also, it won't take you downtime. How it takes that we will discuss in the our further thing. But how it will provided, that is one of the future they saying, it won't have a no downtime. Without downtime also you can upgrade your applications. That is the one reason. That's maybe like nowadays even ICICI Bank recently signed up with Kyndryl for the container management. It has happened in the last Friday only, the agreement. So like now like you might also not see that downtime issues, all those things. That's a new collaboration happened. ICICI Bank given like all the DevOps activities and container, everything they're going to maintain everything as a container. Entire ICICI now going on the containers. So you can expect a lot of positions with Kyndryl as well as ICICI. So even we also discussed this thing, like suppose if you're using IRCTC, like if you're plan for a Tatkal ticket booking in IRCTC, you're going on specifically one particular time, like 11 o'clock every day, you're going on and you're trying to book the tickets over there. But on average, like if for IRCTC website, you will get like 1 lakh to 1.5 lakh users. But for particular that 11 o'clock to 11:15 to 11:20, you expect like more 10 lakh people, more than 10 times of huge higher traffic will be generated in that particular timeline itself. Or like once again 11:30 to 11:30, then again you back to the normal 1 lakh to 1 lakh 1.5 users only. Like but that particular 30 minutes only it will goes up and all kind of thing. Okay, so in that case you have to scale up your application. How I can do the scale up of our application based on the load or based on the traffic? You have to make sure that you're providing like max usage of your applications, and you can scale. That is also lead to you high performance. Mean to say you can expect like your application can be supported for the huge traffic or like huge load also. It can be perform well, like if you do the scalability of your applications. Okay. And it's easy to backup and easy to restore kind of clusters. Like if you have any lost kind of thing, like it's easy to you take it up backups and restore kind. Or else you can have it like a disaster recovery environment. You can set it at that, so you won't lose anything. You won't lose much things on your disaster recovery kind of things. Okay, any questions on these key features?
No.
So like now if I see here, right, like a Kubernetes to say it's a container management tool, that one thing, and manage the like a containerized applications, and also applications available on container platform like Docker. Like everything, it comes part of your containers. Without containers, you don't have Kubernetes. That's the one underlying thing you have to remember. So everything comes as a like everything goes on the containers only. So if you're going on the Kubernetes, if you're going on anything other than the Kubernetes, so it's take you to like your life will be in the containers. Say that like if someone says application is not running, you go and check the container. If they say so like I'm getting this issue, go and check the container is available. So everything you require to take containers, you have to go check the container, go and do this container, check the container is up and running, why container is not creating. Like it goes on your like your day starts and day ends with the containers only. Okay. So now we will go to the architecture of the Kubernetes. Architecture for the Kubernetes has like, two components. One is the master node and worker node. So what is, how many components you have in the master node? Master node have 4 components. These are the mandatory, but other than this, you have like you may have extra also. Like you have add-ons and you have like some things like this thing. Okay, and worker also you have 3. These are the mandatory things. Okay, and as I told you, have some optional things and you have something like you can add, add-ons, all those things. It's only like for you like the basic funda need to be work. Like for that you require all these 3. So what are these 4 components? What are the 4 components? First one is API server. First one is API server. Next one is controller. Next one is controller. Next one is what do you call scheduler. Sorry, 1 second. Next one is etcd. So API server was for your all communication. Like whether it is it's a JSON or over HTTP API, any of the API communication related to the cluster can be managed by this API server only. Okay. Next is controller. Runs controllers. You have some kind of controllers like deployment is also one kind of controller. Like you have like this, you have different types of controllers within the cluster. So that all maintained by this particular component. And next is scheduler. This scheduler is like scheduled pods or nodes. Pods or nodes. Mean to say, suppose if I'm creating like like I just forgot about the pods. Now we are to discuss about the pods. So suppose if I'm creating a container, where that container need to be created, whether the container need to be created in the worker node or container can be created in like if I have 10 worker nodes, where this container need to be created and which node this has to be, this in which worker node this container need to be created. Okay, if I see that one, so like I have to aware that okay, you have 10 containers and after the 10 containers 7 containers are full and you cannot add one more container over there, and the 8th container you have some space free space, so you can create your container in the 8th node. How it comes to know and where how it has goes to the 8th node, so 8th worker node. So scheduler will have that each and every detail of that, and it will goes on to the particular node, and it will help you to create okay, this is this particular container. Okay, I can see 8th container have some space, go on there. No, now I could see the 3rd worker node, 3 worker node, worker node 3 also have some space, go and create over there. Like it will randomly allocate the space in and worker nodes. That is the scheduler activity too. Okay. Now etcd. Etcd is a kind of key value pair backup tool. So key value backup tool, like a key value based backup tool, mean to say every transaction, everything, like whatever you do, even if you log in, if you delete something, if you create something, everything created as a transaction here as key value pair in etcd, and it maintain entire cluster state. Okay, it maintain the entire cluster state. If you're able to do the backup of your etcd, your cluster, entire cluster was in backup. So suppose you created one thing, like suppose you created one container and there's one more container that has been updated something. So every transaction will be here when you have a backup of etcd and restore that etcd backup. Now you have the container things. But like container things, right? As I told, so if you again, if your etcd backup is been there in your cluster, like once your master node goes kind of thing, then you cannot do that. Okay, so make sure that what we do, we will take in S3 bucket and we will try to keep that backup, whatever we created the backup here in this Kubernetes cluster. What we do, we set it up a kind of some specific space, either S3 bucket or any kind of these things. Then you will keep over there. That's how you keep your backup, all those things.
Siva, just like a API server, that means for all communication. That means communication means just like a send a request and get the response. That means, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like every of your sending request, everything will be taken up.
Okay, and controller, just run a controller means?
Controller means like you have some kind of controllers in your Kubernetes, like a kind of a deployment, like option, like you have a deployment is also one kind of controller. Okay, so those kind of maintaining those kind of controllers, you have these things. So deployments have a strategies, like deployment have some strategies. So to work on the strategies, all those things will be taken care by the controllers only.
Okay, that means you mean just like a command, right? You send a command to perform some task.
You ask to do deploy with a specific deploy type. So how it will system will understand that one. So your controller will take care, like make sure that deployments is running on that one.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
Shiva, what is pods when you say pods on the nodes?
No, I ask like hold on there. I ask you to hold on there. I didn't discuss on the
Okay.
pods, so just hold, hold your breath over there. Like I'll discuss about that.
So, the scheduler you mentioned here, that schedule pods in the nodes. But I
Yes.
think we define that thing, where these things to be deployed on worker node 1 or
Whether you can
2.
deploy that also. That is also you can do that. You can, if you're not deployed, see, it's a very like if you're going on the very generic, I can say it can go to the any worker node. If you want to have keep, you can say I want to go this specific node. Also, you can mention that. But while doing that one, you have to change some kind of things. You have to add some kind of taints and tolerations for your nodes. That is a extra setup you have to do if it required to go to the specific thing. Even that also, it has to have like a scheduler only do that one. See, if a pod, if a container need to be created, if a container creating on that, where it has to be created, whether even if you say it has to be created on the specific worker node or it has to go on the generic worker node, everything how it goes on the, like even you have a specific worker node, your worker node is 100% done, like you don't have any free memory over there. How like scheduler will make sure that come to know that whether it has been there or not, how you can notified you. So that is purely scheduler will maintain that entire things, like which node have how much space, which node have this like enough memory to create a container. All those things is maintained by the scheduler only.
Okay.
So, but if you want to have a specific, say, I have like I have a 10 worker nodes, but one specific application can have only use these 3 worker nodes. All those things again you have to do a setup called taints and tolerations. Or labels, anything labels, or like a labels or something that is also can work it out.
Yes.
So based on your usage, you're going on that one. Even I'm also not sure, man, what is the full form of etcd. Not sure on that one. I didn't remember, but we call it as a HCD. People call etcd. Some people call different names, but even I'm not remember the full name. I think you can search in the internet.
So I can explain etcd like what it does.
Sorry.
Like what etc does, like again that concept. You made some backup, right? So like, can you explain that once more? etc.
As I told, right, like it will take everything as a backup. Like it records every transaction happened on your Kubernetes cluster. Okay, so that means to say like your entire cluster state will be maintained by the etcd. So suppose you created one particular container, so it will write in transaction on the scale of key value pair kind of thing. It will be maintained everything as the key value pair as a transactions. So now if you want to have a cluster state, then you can go into use etcd as your backup tool. So once you have a backup of etcd, mean to say you have your entire cluster state as a backup kind of thing. Okay.
So Shiva, like when it takes backup, so is it simply like for logging, or you will be able to re-execute the state?
No, I said to cluster state. It have entire things. I didn't say log. It will have entire things, but see, simple thing like you have like like it maintain the cluster state of that. Okay, how many pods you have now, how many pods has been running, and how many like nodes you have, and what kind of nodes you have, and each and every configuration things, everything like it will be maintained as a cluster state itself.
Okay. So the purpose is only for logging, like so that you will know what is the current state, like what has been happening in your Kubernetes cluster.
Yeah, what happened on the cluster, not what going to be happen. What happened on the cluster, it will take a recording, that kind of thing.
Okay, recording. Okay, it's a read-only data. That's it.
No, like it's a kind of recorder. What it will do, whatever the things is happening on your cluster, it will record the things. That's it.
Okay, got
So it maintain that state.
Okay.
So similarly, worker have a 3 components. One is kubeproxy, like you can say kubelet, and you have a kube proxy and container runtime. So kubelet is an agent. This is an agent. Okay, this works on every node. Even in master node also kubelet works. Okay, a master node also works on. It will also have a kubelet, but this is optional kind of thing. So, but this kubelet is a kind of agent. So what it will do, right? Like it's kind of works as an agent. So what it will do, it will help us to communicate. It will help us to communicate with your master nodes. As you're telling, right? Yes, this is a kind of now it required to have like your worker node states kind of thing. How much space you have. It kind of works as an agent to the master node. Okay. Agent to the master node. This is also agent, but this is a network agent. This is like your container engine. This is a container engine. So now you can create any of the container engine where whatever the container engine required to have, you have to add those things.
Right here, bhaiya.
Robina, can you go on mute? Like
Right, yes,
Hi, Siva.
Yes, sir.
I have some confusions. It's like kubelets agent to the master nodes and kube proxy network agent for the master nodes. I have some little bit confused. Please explain again.
What's the first question?
Just like I have a confusion again, just like an agent to the master node, kubelet, and kube proxy network agent for the master nodes. Some little bit confusion, the agent to the master node and network agent. What is the difference between agent and network agent?
So network agent, see, like you
Shiva,
creating
Could you please mute everybody before you explain?
I'm trying to do it like many times. I'm doing that muting her like many times, but she's like Rubina, like I know, I think you're an outside or something. I'm trying to mute you many times, madam. Yeah, that's what we're going to.
Hello. Hi, Shiva sir. Anish this side actually. Hello.
Yes.
Can you define with the architecture? Basically, I'm
Yeah,
not
buddy.
getting
Once
exactly.
once this thing I told, I'll create in a paint. I'll show you like how it has been happens.
Yeah, correct.
Just consider this is your master node. As I told, 4 components in your master node. So as you could see, if it is API server, and if it is like a scheduler, if this is a controller, and just consider this etcd. So even you are like everything, like whatever you have, everything required to be communicated with your API server. Even scheduler required to communicate with your API server, and your controller required to connect with your API server. But etcd have only like it connected to your Kubernetes, and it is also to connected from the etcd. Sometimes it will have a dual connection, to say it will again etcd is also try to connect to the API server, because whether any of the API comes like it required to read everything, right? Like that, because whatever you have everything, communication will be happen to the API server. So everything will be come from API server to the etcd kind of things. Okay, this is the one like you have in the master node. So similarly, if I go to the if I create a worker machine, let's consider this your worker machine. As I told, you have a you require to have a like a container runtime. Okay, so why I told like a kubelet, all those things in the master node? Why? Because just consider that is everything as a master, everything as a node only. First consideration, everything as a node. But later on, we are assigning that okay, these things goes as a worker role, this thing goes as a master role. Then you are adding more on the responsibilities to the your particular node. So okay, for your particular node, every node will have a kubelet, so that it will have like it will get the state of that particular node to the master. Suppose even if it is a master node or it in worker node, everything it required to know the status of that or state of that particular node. By using the kubelet only, cluster will get to know like what is the state of that particular node, whether it's a master or whether worker node. So that is the one thing like we are going to use kubelet actually. Okay, so if I see here, there's a kubelet. So before going on it's a master, before going on it's a worker. So first it is a node. After that only you're assigning, yes, this goes to the master, this goes to the worker. So how you're going to do that? That's a kind of cluster setup you're going to do that. Okay. Okay, that's the reason you have kubelet in both. And if you see here, the configuration, it goes on from here to here. Kubernetes also will connect to your API server. Kubeproxy also will be communicated to your API server. This container runtime will it helps us to create the containers. Okay, it will help you to the create a container. So like you are required to have a container runtime for your environment. So either you can utilize any of the container runtime, but unfortunately, previously you have a Docker, but Kubernetes removed Docker as a container runtime for the Kubernetes in latest from one version. So from 1.1 onwards, like you cannot work on the Kubernetes. Kubernetes cannot work on the Docker as a runtime, but you can create a Docker. You can use this thing, but in a default runtime environment, you cannot use a Docker kind of thing. Docker as like Kubernetes removed Docker as a default container runtime for any of the Kubernetes cluster. So now you have to take any of other container tool like either Docker D or Container D, or like these things like any of other container technologies you have. You can take those things, but based on the provider, based on those things, you can work on those kind of things. Suppose if you're taking a RHEL kind of thing, if you have like OSS comes as RHEL, they're giving you best as the container D. Like if you're going on the Ubuntu, like also container D is also one of the best other than the Docker. You're going on the different container engine for doing these things. You're not going on the Docker. Okay. So this is how it look like the architecture. This is the master node. This is the worker node. Okay, so like a similar manner, you have how many worker nodes? So master nodes, if you have a 3 master nodes, and if you have like 100 worker nodes, it's a kind of same architecture. It will be connected to your cluster, and this is the wave only. Like this is the kind of communication that happen from your master node to the worker nodes. Okay, so while we installing Kubernetes also, we will require to install all these things, and it require to install all these things. Then only you can do that. Okay. So any questions here? Suppose how API server you can connect it to that. You have like either you can take this as API server. API, a kind of API. Either you can use by UI or by CLI. This is a UI. So as I said, like some add-ons, right? You can say like kubectl is one kind of command line tool. So kubectl is a command line tool for your Kubernetes cluster. So if you require to execute any of the commands in the Kubernetes cluster, you are going on the kubectl. Okay. Similarly, you have like what do you call dashboard. So UI generating kind of things. These are all you can utilize, from your kind of these things only. A kind of like what you can have what I can see. Dashboards you can create, you can generate a dashboards also. That is, but default it won't come as a dashboard. You have to add a third party kind of add-ons for the dashboard that purely works on those things. Okay. So now any question now? Do you have a clarity now?
Hello. Hi, Shiva.
Yes,
Hello.
sir. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, actually, is there required any specific infra for the same? Basically, you have defined.
No, sorry, which one? I didn't hear you. Hello. Hello. Anis, am I able to hear you?
You're audible, Siva, to me.
Okay, might be I'm lost, Anis. Okay, any other questions?
What is the function of qProxy? Can you please repeat again?
qProxy is a network agent. So suppose if you have like you have like three, four worker machines. Okay, so suppose you have like I have a one worker node. In worker node, I have like 3, 4 like a particular containers, and that container endpoints you have to generate it. Like endpoints, all those things require to be generated, and that kind of internal communication from like from one container to other containers, all those things, network kind of things, right? This agent like qProxy will works as a network agent for your all worker missions.
Okay, does that control egress traffic flow in containers means in
Again,
Kubernetes?
ingress is also kind of add-on. It won't comes like in a default ingress things, but ingress is kind of you're like kind of load balancer kind of thing. How you want to have a traffic be routed, all those things can be happen with this thing. But here it is a kind of internal communication to communication. So one like suppose you have one pod to other pod, how it can be communicated. So how like you have default you come with the core DNS as a network, one of the network, like how that networks can be maintained, all those things. This is one of the agent works like for the master node making up. Okay, this is a kind of communication. It's a simple thing. Like if you created a kind of this thing, suppose you have a login page. From the login page, again you have a database page. So from the login, if you enter like a username and password, it communicated to one of the worker mission. So one of the database mission. So how that communication can be established? If that is the other container, how this kind of things need required to be happen, all those things, you require a network for that one. So that network can be like maintained, and it can be monitored by using your qProxy. It is a network agent.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
Suppose like even if you want to expose you, like there is a concept called services. Don't ask me now what is a service. So I'll take it up that thing again. So suppose you expose services to the outside of the world. Like suppose like you're going on the like a cluster IP, node port. They're the different types of services all you have. So those things is purely maintained by your qProxy only.
Okay. I have asked a question by an interviewer a few days ago. Who makes sure that all the pods are running? Means I have studied it long ago. I was not able to answer.
Okay, who maintain?
Who makes sure that all the pods are running in a cluster?
Okay, now tell me who is maintainer? Now we discussed all these things, right? Like now who is responsible for your pods?
Master node.
Sorry?
Scheduler in the master node.
Master node.
No, specific answer. Scheduler. Scheduler in the master node is responsible for all your pods.
Okay.
I told you, right? Like now, I told you now itself.
Yes.
That's a common question. See, that's what I told. So, like so that's how like you have goes on goes kind of thing. So now you have to know each and every function. That's the reason I gave it up, kind of write it up these things, because even sometimes after you forget, you don't know something. Once you see this node, you can understand. Okay, it scheduler. Okay, schedule pods on the nodes. Here I again mention this thing because it's very important.
Yes.
Even here also I'll write up services in Kubernetes is maintained by the qProxy. Services in worker nodes. Okay. Any other question here? I could see some chat.
Hello, hi Shiva sir.
Yes.
What is the any specific tool for the backup?
Yep, you can do like the etcd not required to any etcd is not required kind of backup. It is a regular functionality of the backup. It will take it up that. But if you want to make it up etcd, like you have to copy from your cluster to any other third party S3 bucket something. Or else you not plan, okay, no, I don't want etcd. I want to have a specific kind of things. You can use as any other tools like Valero. Valero is also one of the tool. Like it is also a kind of tool you're deploying into the cluster. Third-party tool you're deploying into the cluster and taking the backup. That is also one of the other use case you have. Like these are third-party tools.
Okay, correct. You mean it's a data protection policy of the cluster?
No, not data protection. There is no data protection. It's only say, buddy, in my house I have a bed, I have like cooler, I have fan. Okay, and now what I have over there? Like suppose I have a non-working cooler, and I have a working fridge, and I have like a non-working bed. So now if we see that next time if you're coming, say, hey, I have 3 all working, you can't say that, right?
Okay.
Now again, you require to when you delivering kind of thing, like suppose if you deliver the scam kind of thing, again what you have to deliver, like when you restore the things, what you have to do, you have non-working cooler. You can't say like I have like you gave non-working cooler and expectation is working cooler, not like that one, right? So what you have over there, presenting the same thing. It is also maintained the cluster state. You can say I have non-working cooler and I have non-working bed, I have working fridge kind of things. It will keep that entire things as here, and all those things again when you do the restore, it will provide you. Yes, it is a non-working cooler. Yes, it also it required to provide you like non-working cooler. How you have that lush and how you have all the details of that, it will be maintained by your etcd. So, but you not require that, but is a kind of cluster kind of thing. You not have a specific options. You not have, much kind of, you won't have things to do work on the etcd. Everything comes as a part of cluster kind of thing only. But if you're going on the Valero other tools, like these are the third party tools, it gives you a comfortable, say like how many items. You're not required to go on. You're not required to go on everything. You are required to go only one specific namespace, or you don't want to go this thing, or you want to have a specific one thing. So that is a feasibility you have for the Valero kind of tool. Like you're not required to go take entire cluster backup kind of things. Majorly, it is purely cluster level backup kind of thing. It is these things like application level kind of things. So even but you can do the entire cluster also, but majorly application teams uses this thing and take it up their own kind of things. Okay, any other? So how Kubernetes and Docker related? Anyone can explain me how like a Kubernetes and Docker related?
So Docker create the container and Kubernetes manage the containers.
Okay. Shravan, are you good with that? Shravan asked me that question. Sorry, Saravanan. Saravanan, are you good with that answer? Or you want me to explain? So Docker is a kind of a container engine which helps us to create a container. Kubernetes is a kind of a platform, or it's a kind of cluster where you're going to manage the containers created by your Docker by your container engine. So Docker is nothing but a container engine, where Kubernetes is a container management tool. So what are the containers created by the Docker? It is managed by the Kubernetes. Okay.
Yes.
That's the reason we call it as orchestration tool. So for Kubernetes cluster creation process.
Shiva, one question, like when you said master node and worker nodes, so our nodes are nothing but EC2 instances? Means like
Anything,
machine.
anything of VMs, anything of virtual machines. Either you can take on-premises virtual machines, or you can take like EC2 instances, or you can take Azure VMs. Anything you can take it up. That's all purely worker nodes. Nodes.
Okay. Okay. And they are all interlinked together and they work.
No, you require to do the setup. Say like now you all required for this kind of thing. If I'm saying worker node, it makes sure that these all things. If I say it is a like master machine, it required all these things. This is the way I have to do. Okay, so cluster creation process, you have two different things. One is KubeADM and next is Minikube. Minikube is a kind of a small kind of a community cluster where your master node, it will take like one virtual machine and it will create a master node and virtual node. Both are in the same thing. And next is KubeADM. KubeADM is a proper cluster process where it will create a separate instances for the master and separate instances for the worker node. Okay, so which one you want to have, KubeADM or Minikube?
Both actually. QDM.
A Minikube, just Minikube in it. You're not required to do anything. You can do Minikube on your Windows as well. Once you have a Docker desktop, you can do that with Minikube. You have hundreds of videos on that, but it's very small kind of thing, very 1-2 lines of things. You're not required to, you won't learn over there. Okay. It's just kind of test question I've asked her. So in your real time, I thought someone would say like, what is the process we use in the real time? I expected that answer. So in your real time, most of the 99.9%, like other than the POC kind of activity, other than, so you maintain that as a KubeADM policy only. Like either you can create 99% you use, if it is a working project kind of thing or working environment kind of thing, you use KubeADM. Because here you maintain worker node and like worker node and master node as a separate entities. So I'm taking container D as one kind of instance, that one kind of container engine here. I'm going on. Test answer. Then I'll give you a test. I want you guys come with Docker desktop in Windows and Minikube in Windows. That's the assignment for you. That good now? No, I'm just kidding. So better, like, if you guys are like a kind of, feel that here EC2 instances are kind of bit costly. If you feel that, you can take it up, but that is only like, temporary solution. If you want to have a proper solution, proper learning thing, I suggest you go with EC2 instances taking up here only. That's the best option. I take it is, I'm taking Ubuntu. Here I gave each and every line of the thing. So make sure that, here I gave apt. So make sure that it is a Ubuntu kind of machines. You cannot skip a single line here. Like you have to make sure that you have each and every line has been executed. Some kind of steps I gave repeatedly because of that is a functionality required. You can't skip that, say like, oh, I already done this thing. But here, right, Kubernetes cluster required minimum 2 GB, like a minimum 2 CPUs. It cannot be run with one thing. So if it goes like, either you have to take 2 CPU and 4 GB memory. So I'm taking this as a T2.medium. It's a kind of costable service for you. Make sure you're using the like the service only. If you're running on T2.medium, T2.micro, it cannot be happen. So I'm using again these things.
So it will be charged, sir, right?
Yes, it's charged only.
Is it chargeable services?
Yes, T2.medium is a chargeable. You don't have another option to do that. Even last month, I saw you like I have to pay 15 rupees in ANR. for 4 hour session, I took like similarly Kubernetes. So that time I have 2 instances for the TT, that medium, and I left like forgot on the entire day. It's a morning session. I forgot on the entire day, and evening I remember that I didn't kill that instances, and I open it around 7 to 8 o'clock kind of thing. So that time for that kind of thing, like maybe just consider 9 to 10 hours. I paid 13 rupees. Or else like 8 rupees to 7 rupees, maybe like going on 8 rupees to 7 rupees, all kind of things. In real time, no one will ask you, hey Shiva, can you create a Kubernetes cluster? No one will ask you to create a cluster. But even though if you're not creating a cluster, you have to make sure what someone will ask what is the scheduler and how scheduler works. You have to aware.
Hi, Shiva sir.
Yes, buddy. And he's tell me.
Hello.
I can hear you, man. Hey, you all saying hi Shiva sir, then you going dark, man. I don't want these many highs, man.
I have a question, doubt regarding API server. How those things are used? What are exactly that API things?
API means like API, right? How you are sending a request, how you are receiving the request, everything in the form of API or in the form of JSON, or if you have like anything, either how you are pushing that to the HTTP, how it will take the request. It's all a kind of thing. That is what you call API. So suppose if you're sending like I'm just entering gmail.com. How gmail.com will get the request saying like, okay, Shiva is trying to open the web page.
Yes.
That in the form of API. I'm checking this session. So this is a master and this is a worker. I can have these things. So I'll go here, like I didn't run any command. I'm going on each and everything as a proper command from here. Even I'm not giving sudo apt kind of thing. So I'm doing here. So again, same thing you have to run in the both.
So like, but how you did two instances? Like this, like you didn't so like master and worker creation.
No, I haven't done, buddy. I'm just started creating. I didn't take like as of now, I'm executing both in the same thing. Okay, you can see here, like I'm executing both things here. In here, I told like what you have to do here. Like, okay, so this is the only like cube ADM init where you're running this thing, it will be created that it will take that as a Western mode. Until unless same thing remaining entire configuration is the same. Once you've done this thing, you can see that like different things, whatever you have over there and what you are not over here. Okay.
Okay. No, so like we have two IP addresses. So like how that happened? Like generally we
I
get
create two instances, buddy.
Okay. Okay.
I take two instances.
Okay.
So I updated Kubernetes these things, and now I'm updating sudo apt update. Next, I'm installing kubeadm, kubelet, and kubectl. And along with the curl, Vim, some kind of other tools. Duplicate kind of things. A few already might be there, but again, we are installing that for the further purpose. Next, you have a swap memory. You are going to disable that swap memory by running these commands in both machines. Kubernetes won't run if you have a swap memory is on.
What is the swap memory?
In Linux, you have swap memory like kind of a cache memory.
Okay, it's a kind of caching.
So I'm running each and every command here, and for the setup, only like making the instances running on the better kind of configuration. I'm not skipping any step. Remember that I'm not skipping any step. Till here, I'm running on all the instances. Might feel, suppose if I were required to add one more node, I may be required to do all these things. No, you have a node template which you executing inside of your cluster. You call it as a node template. So it will generate a template, and you're running the template on the what are the machines. Suppose you take like suppose in here the node autoscaler you have, right? You creating an autoscaler group. That autoscaler group you have to generate it like a node template. That node template is going to be executed into your autoscale group. So autoscale group will automatically generate a similar node. Like what are the node I have here? You can take a node template of this node. You have to generate a node template. That node template you are going to execute in other machines. Then it will be work. Take it up the further kind of things. Now this time I'm executing the containerd. similar like Docker. Containerd is also kind of container engine. So now I'm installing containerd.io. Is also a kind of containerd. Is also kind of a Docker. Just created a driver in these things. I just created a folder in this in the default configuration, containerd configuration default. So I'm just configuring like I'm just copying here that etcd containerd config.toml. There is a toml file. This toml file may not have a permission. So update 777 permission to the config file if any permission issues. Okay. So here I'm going on. I'm taking this thing. Let me see if I have or not. So permission denied error. Even if I try to sudo also, it says permission denied. So mean to say don't have execution permissions. cd/etc/container. Here I have this thing. You can use sudo chmod 777 config toml. Same thing, you have to go here. Again, you change doing cd/etc/containerd and giving ALS. You also have these things. Sudo chmod 777 the config file. So a permission you have to add update 777 permission to the config file. Okay, this is a toml file. So now I'm just restarting the container. Now this is a command I have to execute after the changing the permission. So I executed this thing. These are all configuration changes. So now I'm just restarting the containerd. Now I'm trying for the enabling these things. Now I'm doing the kubelet, enabling the kubelet. And after that, I'm trying for the containerd SOCK, like how we have a Docker SOCK, we are adding the remember, like you're adding the user kind of these things. We're trying to pull some kubeadm config images. kubeadm config images. So nothing but you are like, let me show you. Copy. See, it is pulling registry for K8s from Kube API server, Kube control manager, Kube scheduler, Kube proxy, Kube pass. This is not required. You can try it here itself, master. So this is the only command I'm just giving. And inside of the pod network, I'm saying like, okay, buddy, inside of the pod network, I'm saying you go. Now we can see here images, API server, etcd, core DNS, Kube proxy. These are all kind of images it has been generated. Okay, now I'm just using kubeadm init, and I'm providing like the -FN pod network with every pod will be under this CADR ranges. Okay, I told this is CADR ranges. Now it will be executed. It will be created. That see here API server certification, etcd, Kube controller, kind of creating static pod manifest, Kube API server, static pod manifest for the controller, static pod for the Kube schedulers. All those things is done, and it says here your Kubernetes control plane has been initialized successfully. It says your Kubernetes control plane has been initiated successfully, and it asked me to, like it says some kind of options here. Okay, so now kubeATM control plane, as I told, right? It's a control plane. So it is created a cluster, and it to start using your cluster, you need to run the following as a regular user. So I'm just going on here. Alternatively, if you are the root user, you can run this thing. I'm not your root user. You should now deploy a pod network to the cluster. So this is a pod network you're running on the pod network. So run kubectl apply -f and pod network.aml with one of the options listed here. They gave me some kind of listed here, but I already took one kind of thing for you. Like this is the kubectl apply command I already gave here. You can utilize these things. Or you can go to this particular link, web link they gave. You can go and you can check that one. Okay. But I instead of that, I have a listed. So I took that some kind of things and I created these things. Now it created a lot of things for me. Now, after creating, when to say, now I'm going on here, I can say kubectl get nodes. Here I say, this is a 31, see here, 31.8.134 in ready status in the control plane, created directly 2 minutes, 2 seconds back in version v1. So this is what this is how I can create my Kubernetes cluster. So now it is a master node. Then then you can join any of the worker nodes by running the following node as a root user. So it says like as a root, you have to provide these things. Just copy this thing. I'm just using root. Here I have to do this in worker machine. See, this node join the cluster and kubelet informer this new resource connection details. Kubelet kubectl get nodes on the control plane to see the nodes join the cluster. If I see here,
Shiva, please especially mention which command is executing both machine, just like a master and worker instance, and which command is only execute on the master. And
I already clearly mentioned, sir, here. Okay, these are all after install. These are only on the master node, and these are only after installation. All the things I mentioned here. Okay.
After installation, executing this command in which instance, worker or
after
master?
No, these things, these are all you can run these things with this master, but you receive join command that you have to run on your like a worker machine.
Okay. And above this video only in the master nodes.
Yes, these are the two commands.
Above on the master node from the starting.
These are all on both machines. If you have if you created 2-3 worker nodes, you have to take it on all the machines.
Okay.
That's what I told.
From starting to end of the.
Yes.
Just like mention in the master nodes, we can executing all these commands in both worker and master, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And after installation section on the both, right? Only except the.
Sorry?
That after installation section?
After installation section, few things you have to execute in master, and only join command only you are going to execute on your worker machine.
Okay, that is mentioned there, right? So.
I gave after installation here, I gave these things. What's this thing? Here I mentioned these things after installation. These are all already notified for you. It will be get through your after installation process. You get you through these things. Here until these things you have to run on these things. But remaining things, the remaining join command. Let me write here if you want to have like this. Okay. So now if I see here, see IP, it has been status in ready and role has been nothing. Now if you see here, again, if I'm running here, it says role is nothing. So now I require to add that as a worker role. Now I require to add that as a worker role. So now it is a plain role. Now I'm created that as a worker role. For that, again, I gave you command to add label. You have to add label. So this is one. You have to remove this IP and you have to give this IP address, whatever the IP address you have for this mission, to take this IP. And you have to go here, change this IP. You can run this thing. You're going to add Kubernetes.io role. I'm changing the label. You're running on the mission only. If you see now, you can see that it has changed role as a worker. Okay. Now this is how we can see your cluster has been created with one master and one worker node.
Okay, hello.
Yes.
Yeah, in that cluster architecture, you have mentioned custodian, and another one you have said. I missed that one.
Minikube.
Sorry, Minikube. What is that Kubernetes? Can you tell me again? Actually, Kubernetes, Minikube, and Kubernetes. You mentioned.
Yes, those are the two types. Those are the cluster creation process.
Okay, so these are two different tools.
Yeah, two different ways of creating Kubernetes cluster.
Okay.
Are we going to require these things to create a Kubernetes cluster, or is there any other way?
Sorry, what is the meaning of other way? These are the two methods you have. One is the KubeADM, other one is a Minikube. These are the two ways of your cluster creation process. If you not have these things, there are in online some kind of application, some online providing tools also, like KETS, Playzone, something, Playground. They created some kind of applications they gave to you. Yeah, play with Kubernetes. So this is also a kind of online thing. You can log in with these things, and you can log in with the GitHub or log in with these things. You can log in and you can create a kind of a cluster. For this, I think this is for 30 minutes, a kind of thing. Okay.
Okay.
So other than the cluster, you have to do that one.
Means in real life scenario, in whenever we will work on these things, we have to create this Kubernetes cluster by this way, KubeADM and
yeah, you have to do, like, if there's someone asks you to do that, you have to do with the KubeADM. That's 100% sure. You don't have another way, but not this way. Like these are all can be created as an AMI. You will get it kind of. You work with suppose you're working on AWS. You work with the AMI team and get these all things as a one kind of thing, and you can create get then image or something. You do all these things into your Docker image. You can get this either with the Terraform. You have all these things can be maintained through the Terraform. If I say Terraform, like if I have all these things, I can simply apply it. Terraform apply, my cluster will be created.
Okay, I mean that will be easier way.
I see. That is a very easy process. You're not required to. That's what I told again. I told this is the third time I'm telling. You won't do these activities in real time. No one asks you to create a cluster, but you have to know like what happening if you're creating a cluster.
Yes, I got it.
Okay, so cluster creation process not that much easy. Or like you have a lot of restrictions in your workspace environments, kind of thing. They'll take it up, kind of different approaches. But at backend, this is the same thing. Whatever you ran, this is all everything you're running on the same thing. Okay, but that's a process violation. Process wise, your company, you have to obey some process, and you have to raise some firewall request to open some ports. Like there are plenty of restrictions you will have. But in like outer line, this is the process. This is the entire cluster creation process. Or else I'm not required to explain these things this much time. I can simply take it up a kind of this thing. I can say like this is a way you can create cluster. But that's not the these things. Way you have to understand some things, why it is happening, how it is the join command will becomes, and how you're taking that one, how what you have once you have these things, right? So something like why I didn't mention, you may have see here, you will get networks with this hyperlink. They say you'll get the networks here. You don't know what network you have to take here. They gave you kind of plenty of concepts here. Okay, Kubernetes usually itself will take 30 to 40 hours for the session if you're going on end-to-end Kubernetes. Definitely it will take more. It never take less than 20 hours to cover Kubernetes. But few things we are giving you for to learn. Few things we are telling you because if you're required to learn for a few things, you have these things first you have to understand. Then only you can go on further of your learnings.
Yes.
So now I created a Kubernetes cluster. Okay. After creating a Kubernetes cluster, I'm canceling this thing anyway. After creation of your cluster, you're going to run all your kubectl commands. So these are the very basic commands. Anyway, I'll give you a cheat sheet for the kubectl commands. But kubectl commands, how we will see to by heart the commands, use kubectl. You have action. For the action, you have to say get, add, delete, describe, okay, create. So it comes like this thing, apply. Like these kind of actions you have, okay. And then you have attributes. I mean to say what you're trying to create, what you're trying to get. Suppose if you say kubectl get, what you're trying to get. I want to see how many nodes you have. Kubectl get nodes. No, I want to see how many pods you have. So like this thing. No, you want to create something. Just use kubectl create. Or if you want to delete, kubectl delete. These are the kind of way you have to see. But underlying things, it will be these are the kind of actions for each and everything. These are you have to by heart. That's it. So you have to do all these things for your kind of this thing. Like when you're running a kind of kubectl command, you have to run either one of this command, one of this action, and the attribute whatever you have to pass, you have to pass. 1 second. Yeah, so these are the way of you're going to create the commands. And other way, so you have to do this. You have to remember that by heart that get put kind of things. But now few other concepts we are going to, few other components of your class Kubernetes cluster you're going to learn. Okay, so the first thing is namespace. First thing, namespace, deployment, namespace, pods, deployments, replicas, config maps, secrets, config maps, secrets, service account, RBAC, and rules.
What is this, Shiva?
These are the components you're going to learn here in Kubernetes.
Okay.
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 Okay. Till the cluster creation process, any other questions you have, so that then I can take that questions before going on the inside of the Kubernetes concepts. Now we have a cluster. Now we are going to create. Now we are going to work on the cluster kind of things. Now we are going on enter cluster process creation. Okay, so any questions on the cluster creation process? You done with the cluster creation process? Then I can take components inside of your cluster. So once you practice, once you created a cluster, you'll get hundreds of questions.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So now I have like my cluster is ready. So now as a tool, right? So here, the first thing is namespace. Namespace is nothing but like a project. Okay. So suppose I want to create one project, like suppose I have the consumer banking is my Kubernetes application. Inside of the consumer banking, I have debit card, credit card, banking system, or internet banking, a kind of these things. Like, I have to maintain all these kind of things. So now I want to create a separate project for the debit card. So I want to create a separate project for the credit card. I want to create a separate project for the consumer banking. So now I can maintain that as a kind of projects. How I can maintain the projects? So suppose if I created one setup for this particular debit card, one setup for this kind of thing, you're going to differentiate those things with your namespaces. You're going to differentiate it with those things by using namespaces. So namespace is kind of like your partitioning things, like for your entire application. Suppose like debit card, credit card, consumer banking, you can have 3 namespaces, but all these things come under the consumer banking. Okay, consumer banking is one of the application. Instead of that application, you have 3 like sub things. You can create it 3 things for these things. So how to create a namespaces? You can have first. You can see like kubectl. First, see what are the namespaces you have. Get namespaces. So here I have some default namespaces, like it has been created when the cluster created 18 minutes back. This I didn't created these things. It is maintained by it is maintained by the Kubernetes. Kubernetes created these namespaces defaultly. So kube system, kube public, kube node release, all these things are the like admin related. Meant to say Kubernetes cluster maintain these things. And there's a default namespace which is usually created for the default kind of thing. So it won't have anything. It is very purely a default kind of things only. So now I want to create a namespace for my thing. I'm saying kubectl create namespace, and I'm saying like star as well make. Sorry, spelling mistake. I'm just creating kubectl star as well underscore make. Okay, namespace star as well has been created. So namespace has been created. So if I see like what is the list I have now, kubectl get namespace. See here I have star azl may as one thing which is active and created 14 seconds back. Okay, this is a 14 seconds back I've created. Now how can I now I have to create all my everything. I have to create everything inside of this thing in this particular namespace only. Now I have to create everything, whatever the, suppose if I'm creating pods, deployments, or if I'm creating everything I require to be created inside of this star azl may only. This is the namespace. These are partitional kind of thing, like virtual partition. How you're doing the virtual partition? By using a namespace. Nothing but a project. You can call that as a project as well. So now we can create all your items or create all your resources, all those things you can component everything within your namespace only. Any questions here? So any questions here?
I think kubectl, I think command, no?
Is the use of namespace actually why we require namespace?
No, that's what I told. Like practice, how you creating the partitions of your thing. Suppose I have an application called consumer banking. Instead of the consumer banking, I have debit card, credit card, internet banking. All these other sections come under my consumer banking. If I want to maintain all my debit card details as one set of kind of thing, so I can create a partition for the cluster as okay. These are the items need to be under this namespace, or these are the items can be created under this project kind of thing. I partition way I'm doing. To do that, you require to have a namespace.
Yeah, I have worked on this, but exactly don't know why.
Namespace just like a name of the project, right?
I'll explain. Like, let's see, simple thing. This Kubernetes cluster, okay. This cluster, I just give it to 10 people, 10 applications. I give it to you. So how you maintain that? How you maintain? Like, suppose you working on same thing. Bank. I have like a bank application. I take bank application only. You're working on the loans. I'm working on the consumer banking. Okay, everything created on the Kubernetes cluster only. This entire all the applications has been logged in the Kubernetes cluster only. I'm under the loan section. Can I go and see what happening on internet banking? Do you have usually you cannot access if you're in the loan section, you can't access what happening on the internet banking, right?
Yes.
How can you restrict it yourself, or how can you have access? Okay, I may be required access for this particular namespace. How you have these things?
Okay.
So how you want to have access to okay, usually you created namespaces, that namespaces only you're going to get an access. You're not getting the other than the admin, no one will have Kubernetes cluster access.
In case of just we can create a number of namespaces, right? Just like a 4.
Yeah, you can do that.
Right.
You can
just like we are creating a 4 namespace, right? The 4 namespaces are required. Every namespace have some user have a access, provider access, or some user have a don't provide a access of just like a 2 namespace are not required to access the particular users. It is required, or you can set it.
No, based on the namespaces under the group, how you creating the namespaces, if you created the namespaces, how you're going to you're going to create access to the clusters. Okay, if I'm kind of I'm assigning a kind of LDAP group. Just consider I have an LDAP group. In this LDAP group, for the authentication of that LDAP group, I can only give this particular namespaces.
Okay.
So that user will have a specific user namespaces. If I have 10 namespaces, the user gave user been into the LDAP group. That LDAP group have limited only 3 namespaces. There is another LDAP group which have names for the 5 namespaces. There is another LDAP group which have 10 namespaces access. If a user been into that particular LDAP group which have a 10 namespaces, they can see all the 10 namespaces.
Okay.
So a virtual partition thing you're doing for your namespaces. So how are you creating your cluster? How are you creating your project inside of your Kubernetes cluster, buddy? To tell you. Okay.
Yes.
So, okay. So we'll take a, so once we created the namespace, then further things will be created. It's almost 9:13. We'll take a short break and we will finish up our dinner and we'll be back.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Hey guys, I'm back. Okay, I'll wait for another couple of minutes. Hey guys, are able to hear me? Anyone can confirm? Okay, thank you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, we'll wait for a couple of minutes.
Yes.
Team to be joined. Okay, so again, I'm running kubectl get namespace. Here I'm able to see star result, which is run by 32 minutes ago. Okay, so now I created a namespace. Now I created the resources need to be inside of that one. So as it like in Kubernetes, every like you can call these other resources in your Kubernetes, or you can call these other different things or like different items on that one. But most of them, like all of them, you have to use AML only for writing these things. You have to use AML as a programming language to write the resources inside of your Kubernetes. So that means to say, like if you're writing a pod, you have to write YAML. If you're writing a namespace, even you can directly do that one. But pods are required to have some configuration. I mean, to create a container, I have to do some things. So other than this kind of a straight away, like few things you have to write it up in a kind of configuration files. So all your configuration files in your Kubernetes, you're going to return in kind of AML files only, in returning inside with your AML files only. So that AML file, every of AML file have a structure. Every AML file have a structure. So now we will see what is the structure for your Kubernetes, any of AML file. It has divided into the 4 sections. One is API version, kind, and metadata. Next is spec. So these are the 4 sections you're going to return inside of your, these are the 4 sections you're going to return inside of your Kubernetes configuration or Kubernetes AML files. Okay, Kubernetes AML files or Kubernetes configuration. Well, you can call anything. So now what we will have here. So mean to say, if I'm writing a resource called pod, if I'm trying to write a configuration file per pod, and if I'm writing a resource for the called deployment, if I'm writing a resource called configuration maps, like if I have a different resources, the different resources is defined in the different versions of your like API versions. They're mapped into the inside of it the different types of versions. Suppose it comes as like a v1 like a apps/v1 like this. Do you have any hard code? How can I remember that, kind of thing? You don't have any other option. You have to by heart, or like you have to go and check like what is the which configuration file it has been created, which configuration file it has been created. You have to understand that one only. Okay, no, there is no other option like for that one. If say what is the you have to know deep level of Kubernetes development way. If it's a V1, V2, like you have to see what kind of features has been developed in API version V1. All those kind of things you have to go and see. Like that's how Kubernetes is deployed. If you're seeing on the Kubernetes layer side, like me to say that Kubernetes designed side. Okay. Next is kind. Kind to say, suppose like in the version, I can say like a V1. And what kind of resource you're creating. Are you creating a pod, or are you creating deployment? It should be pod or deployment. These things should be in capital letter. Pod, are you creating a deployment, or are you creating like config map, are you creating secrets like this? What you're trying to do? Are you creating services? What kind you're creating here? What kind this configuration file here? That kind you have to mention here. That kind you have to mention here. And next is metadata. Metadata is nothing but name. Like usually, like you write the name here as suppose what this thing. Like it may be doing it for the ng-inx file. Are you doing it for the Tomcat? Like this, you can mention demographic information of your like what kind you're doing here. That is the demographic information related to that one. Next, you have a spec. Spec is nothing but what kind of specifications you are trying to do here. What kind of specifications? Suppose first thing, what is the pod? What is meant by the pod? So pod is nothing but a outer layer of containers. Here I mentioned outer layer of containers. So here I mentioned containers, not one container. Nothing but pod may contains more than one container. Let me write here. If I take like this is a kind of if just consider this is a pod. If this is a pod, inside of the pod, I have multiple containers. Either I can create a like this one container, I can have like one more container like this. I can create multiple, but pod is the outer layer for your containers. As a standard practice, you creating as a standard practice, you usually use one pod to one container to one pod only. But in worst case scenarios only, like are in specific scenarios only, you go on the different multiple pods, multiple containers in one particular pod. Even though the underlying thing you have to remember here, when you say specifying the pod, you're specifying a container. This is called main container. This is called sub container. This is called main container. This is called sub container. Or you call it as sidecar. This is called main container. Or this self we call it as sidecar container. Okay. But when you representation of a pod, it is always pointed to the one specific container. That is nothing but the main container only. That is nothing but your main container only. But your other containers, sidecar containers, and all like a different thing. Like you cannot access that as a public kind of thing. You cannot access that as a public kind of containers. Okay. Guys, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Yes,
I'm trying to understand this thing. And so why the sidecar is used when it is required? And if
which one? Sorry?
Sidecar.
Okay. No, I'll explain you scenario. Why I required a sidecar? I'll explain you scenario. No worries on that.
Okay.
See, sometimes I'll tell you a simple example. I'm generating a kind of some kind of logs or reporting something. Here I'm generating this particular network. Okay, in the particular container, I'm generating some kind of logs, and I require to process that logs inside of within this pod itself. I require to process those logs, or I require to send. I require to do something. I require to do some other kind of details. So within the container itself, I require to process those things. That situations you'll create a sidecar container for the particular container for the particular main container. That is the use case. Like if you have a scenario, you want to convey that functionality within the one container itself. You're not going on, you're not bringing that as an outside or something. Why? Because as the same container, it may be killed, and it may be like, it may be creation, deletion of the container is very, very small fraction of minutes, fraction of seconds, even though. And such case of such scenarios, you want to take it up the logs of that container, or you want to something like, take it up the functionality of that container, and you want to keep some information related to that container, and kind of these things. That is the case you use sidecar containers. To tell you, like a log collector, like you have a maybe log collector for every container. What are the container maybe? Like here I'm creating container multiple times, but the sidecar is taking the logs and pushing it to the some kind of some other functionality kind of thing. That is the one case of sidecar you can create it. But mostly 99%, 90% you use, not 99%, 90% you use one container for one particular part. That's a standard practice. Okay.
So we have to create this sidecar when required. Means we can.
Yeah,
create.
you have to create that.
It will be reside in that particular namespace.
You have to do that while you're creating itself. You have to do it should be sitting in this particular namespace. You have to write the configuration file. Yes, I am creating a pod. This pod need to be have this container. This container, this pod network to required to be present in this namespace. All those details you have to return on yourself.
And all these things we have to mention in YAML file, correct?
Exactly, yes. That is what you are doing here in the spec. In the spec, right? So, for creating a pod, you require image, right? So, suppose in the spec, what we're trying to do, we're trying to create containers. I'm trying to create containers here. Containers. Here I'm saying I can say name, because I can write multiple containers. I can say NJNX or Redis. Okay, and I require to have image. So Redis latest. And ports. '80 or 443. If it is a TCP, you're using 443. Like this, you can write this specific configuration. So suppose you have one more. You can write like this thing. This is how you write all your what kind of configuration you want to create for this thing. You're going to write these things.
I have created many these things used in previous organization. So there we mentioned replicas, PBC, and all those things also means how many CPU it required there, and how many persistent volume I have.
That you're going to do it in deployments actually.
Yes. Okay.
Not in the pods.
Okay. Got it. Awesome.
Okay.
Yes.
That you're going to do it in deployments. Like you're going to mention how many pods you want to have, how many replicas you want to have, what is the volume you want to have. So all those details, like you're going to mount volumes, all those things you're going to write it up, that details inside your deployments, not on your pods. Okay, sir?
Yes. Thank you. Yes. Let's continue.
Yeah. So this is the way you have to write a viewer. This is the way you have to write it up your write up your Kubernetes configuration files. Okay, let me create these things. Let me take this thing. Yeah. Let me meanwhile any of kind of things like let me do v1 kind of spot metadata Redis name spec TAI NERS name Redis latest ports. So instead of Redis, I'll take Nginx. That would be easy to remember. Okay, this is the one kind of AML configuration files. So I'm just checking this thing. But here I didn't mention any namespace. If you want to specify namespace, you can metadata, you can write namespace as a give *L -may. I can write like this thing. I can write. Or if I not mention here, I don't want to have this this thing with a specific namespace. Let me show you. Okay, anyway, I copied this thing. I'm writing a VI here. Pod.yaml. I'm just taking it as a pod.yaml. Again, quotes has been missing. Writing this thing. Containers, metadata, Nginx, image, ports. Perfect. Let me save this thing. Okay. So this is the external file I'm trying to do. Now what I told, I have to apply, I'm trying to apply an external file. So kubectl apply -f, a kind of external file as pod.yaml. Applying an external file with the file name as pod.yaml. Here, either you can mention your namespace details inside of your AML as I shown previously, or else you can provide as your -n namespace. -n namespace details.
That means, Shiva, that means this pod.yml execute under the *agile may, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
It says like a
Yes.
*girl. I created in the wrong name.
Wrong name.
Okay, *girl I created in the wrong name, but anyway. It says pod nginx is created. Now how can I see like what kind of pods? kubectl get pods -n here nginx 1 by 1 ready, running, 0 restarts, 21 seconds ago. But if I gave simple like this thing, it says here, it says default namespace, no resources found in default namespace. If you not mention -n namespace, it automatically take into a default namespace. It automatically take you things into the default namespace. Now I can have like my pod can be created in which are the desired namespace I have. It can be created on that namespace only. Or else I can mention here as namespace as I can mention like this also. Anything is fine. But if I don't want to specifically this configuration to be specific namespace, I want to create in multiple namespaces, I can externally provide it like as kubectl apply -f and pod.yaml -n cubes like a namespace name. This is also way I can provide my namespace details to applying a configuration file, Okay. Any questions?
The success, but if in case it fails, what can be the reasons? And how can we check those logs?
Even here it is failed. Here is also it failed, saying like star as the this was found.
This is one of cause that namespace is not matched. Okay, so
Like this, if you gave image is the wrong image was not there, or you gave a different thing, it's not there. Are you trying to do like you gave wrong configuration information, that will be fail. Like this, there are plenty of ways to fail.
okay. So is there any logs generated, or how can we check? Means
Now, once a pod has been created, you have pod logs, not like this thing. So suppose as I told here, right? Here a pod has been created. I can check like kubectl logs. I can check this namespace, this particular pod logs. If I gave like this, it won't come because it takes the default namespace. I have to provide -n, and I have to provide this namespace.
yes, correct.
See here, it is generating a logs for your pod. Say start working process, not something into your like commands. What are the commands executed? Not like it provided logs for your as kind of your pod network, not to your commands. Like if you created a command, now your etcd will have say like, okay, Shiva has created a pod on the name of like this thing. It will give you kind of like this. But you cannot see where etcd been there, how etcd can be. You cannot go and you cannot see anything. It's kind of in hidden kind of situations.
Okay.
You cannot see kind of those things. It is you cannot see that. Okay.
Okay.
Now this is the way how you generated your pod these things. Now we are going on the similar way. We are going to do a deployment. We're going to learn deployment. So what is the differences between deployment and pods? Deployments can create a pods, but it has to be maintained with the replications. It will help you to maintain the replications, as well as it will also maintain like multiple resources. It will have like it's kind of controller. Mean to say pod controller, node controller, like this kind of these are kind of deployment controllers. Like you can have multiple controllers, like one of the deployment controller, because it has some strategies to apply a controllers. Mean to say, like suppose if you have as you told, one of the things is like no downtime. How you're applying no downtime for your application while you're doing a deployment, second deployment, or when you do the third updation of deployments, how you're doing the deployment, that deployment kind of things, that deployment type of how you're doing that one. That is the matters here. So those are all kind of things be part of your deployment. So now you're writing your deployment. If you're writing your deployment, you will see more features of that one. Okay. So but a function like the structure will be the same. So how you are writing up this is the same thing. Let me copy this thing. But deployment is not in the V1. It will be in your apps V1. It is in your apps V1, and it is changed to the deployment. It will be changed as the deployment. Here you can use metadata nginx as you can use nginx deploy. Name you can use, but here namespace can be used the same thing. No worries on that one. And while coming to the specs, right? Let me remove it. Let me go out of these things. Okay, I'll take it up these things. Now, as I told, right, like it's a deployment config. It's a deployment configuration file. Let's say deployment configuration file. The first thing you have to write here, replicas. Replicas. How many replicas it can be a kind of, if this is a kind of a service, how many replicas I require to create for this service? Mean to say how many minimum pods I have to maintain for my application running. If I say 3 pods, it definitely maintain 3 pods. We saw what is a replica in your like a Docker Swarm. It's also a similar kind of concept. It's not something, but here is also we call it as replicas. There also you call it as replicas. Even if you delete one container there, it will be automatically create other container and make sure it maintain your 3 containers. So here also you're maintaining like 3 replicas for your pods. It will create you like 3 pods. But here the deployment, it required to be configured with, it required to be connect with multiple things, like it required to connect with the services, required to connect with other things. So that's the reason what I'm doing, I'm adding a label to these things. I'm adding label to these things. Like I'm just creating here as label. Say label. Here I'm just creating a labels. Inside of the labels, I'm saying like I'm giving label as apps as nginx. This is my label. Now I just gave the replica. For the for the replicas I gave, now I require to say selectors. Okay, like again, selector is also, someone is asking like to say, I want to create into the specific namespace. I want to create a specific name. Sorry, I want to create this thing to the particular worker node. How can you do that? You can create a selector here. You can create a selector here, and you can write a match label. You can write like this also. But if you want to create a specific, yes, I want to create this deployment. I want to create the deployment related pods in a specific worker node. That worker node have a label, and that label match label you have to provide here. This is one of the option you can do this thing. Now, this particular thing have a template, deployment template. This particular thing have a template. Mean to say, like why I have to write a template for this thing? Why I have to write a template like this thing? Because template inside of any of your configuration file, if you're writing a template, mean to say, whatever you have over there, instead of disturbing that, you are integrating one more template. You integrating one more functionality as a template. Now here, see, these are the specifications related to my deployment. But what deployment creates? Deployment creates the pods. Deployment usually create the pods. Now I want to write a pod configuration here. Whatever I have here, whatever I have here, I have to write that entire thing as a kind of. I have to write a pod configuration. How can I write a pod configuration? But if I have if I written that is here itself, it will club and it will mix it out. So that's the reason I'm writing everything like a pod configuration as a template, and I'm attaching that template to the deployment things. I'm attaching that pod configuration as a template to my this deployment config file. I'm attaching that. Now let me see how can I write the template. Okay, this is very important. If I go to the template, again I have to have metadata. And again, you may have like labels, same how you go write it up that. You can write like your labels and specifications and specification. Spec. Inside of the spec, what are the spec I have to write? Inside of the spec, I have to write a container details. The same spec which I have for the my previously pod network, I took again here. Again, I took here the same thing. This is how I can create a deployment. Inside of the deployment, I have attached a pod template. This is a deployment configuration. I've attached this deployment, this pod configuration as a template, so that my deployment can take this template and create a pod for my this thing, along with the configuration for your deployments as replicas, selectors, and if you have any some specific type of deployment, anything if you have. But I'm not taking anything as of now. I'm just creating this thing, and I'll show you like what you have on the further things. Just copying this thing. Using VI, NGINX. I'm using NGINX deploy. Deploy.yaml. So let me check each and everything. API version, the PLOYME and metadata, namespace, label also give labels, spec, replicas, selector, match labels. Next again template, and template I have, but here it is went on different structure. This thing I written. So now I have my template. Now I have my template, and I have my selector, and I have my replicas here. Let me save this thing. Let me write here. So same thing. Applying thing is the same. kubectl apply -f deploy dot nginx dot deploy IAM. But here I'm not writing this -n because I already given the namespace as here *sl -me. I already provide that inside of my configuration file. I'm not giving -n here. If I just enter here, it's deployment.apps nginx deploy created. Let me use kubectl get deploy -n star sl -me. So you can see now a deployment have a deployment and 3 replicas, up to date 3, available 3, and created in 23 seconds. But again, let me go to the pods here. Inside of the pod, see here, nginx. This is the one pod which I've created manually, and later these are the deploy kind of things. Nginx deploy, and I gave some kind of this thing. So it created as these things. It created these things. This one name I gave inside of my this thing. See here, nginx deploy name, and this, and here it is a created name with the same, and it has added some kind of some random key. It has been added to that, and here it created these things. Meanwhile, let me do delete kubectl delete pod and pod name -n. Again, I have to provide the *sl may namespace details. So see, this pod has been deleted. Now again, let me use our get pods. See, it created one more pod with the 4 seconds back. Because of you provided as a replicas, it required to take that as it will maintain. It will make sure it will be, and it will be created more on with it will try to maintain that as a 3 things. Okay.
Yes.
Questions here? Hello.
Shiva, can you explain that deployment code, like the structure, and what is the use of metadata, like how it?
Metadata is the name of your this thing. Name for your kind. Suppose you're creating a pod, it will create it as an nginx only. Okay. Not created as a pod.ml. When I hear, what is the metadata name I gave here?
Nginx.
It created a pod with the same name. That is not only here metadata in any of the section, anywhere, like metadata is nothing but demographic information of that particular item. I mean to say, suppose if I'm telling about the something, then what is the name of that one, like what is like all the demographic information related, address, kind of these things, all the details will related to the personal information of that particular kind of thing. Like that is the most of the common information related to your item, that is called metadata in anywhere. So here I'm providing, it's required to create a Nginx pod. It created an Nginx kind of a pod as this thing, and that is comes as all with this kind of configuration.
Okay. And sure, like sometimes sorry. Like sure, like sometime when we deploy a new build deploy, we found that the pods are pointing to the previous release, and we raise the DevOps tickets for that. And DevOps
No, sorry. Can you pardon me again?
Like we do release cut, right? After the release cut happens, we sometimes encounter that the pods are pointing to the previous release, not to the current release. And at that time, we raise a DevOps ticket, and DevOps team act on that, and they fix the issue. So, like, what they do to again pointing the pods to the current release in the real time.
Okay, suppose here I want to see like that's our next thing. Like, okay, I'll tell you like type is one of thing. Like, okay, just kept that question. I'll show you like this thing. And any other question, guys? I'll show you that now. Okay, you know what is. Let me show you this with your proper example that you will understand.
Sure.
We are deploying this on master node, controller node, correct?
How should I know? How can I see that information?
You haven't mentioned anything, so
you have to ask, na. Sorry.
After that, happen OID at the end. Yeah, this will be fine.
If you give a kubectl get pods -o wide, I mean to say wide information. You can see this on which namespace this has been defined. See here, it is all 31.5.194. This is my master node where I'm running A-134, but these are all in 194, 194, 194. I mean to say these are all been deployed in my worker machine only.
Okay.
But how can I see like some kind of these things? Like, let me remove this thing. I just kubectl get pods -o wide, but it not shows me like you don't have any resource in the default namespace. No, I want to get all the pods running on my cluster. It is -a mean to say all. These many pods are running on your Kubernetes cluster now. Okay, you're giving Kubernetes pods -a, all namespaces -o wide. On which kind of thing? If you see here, these things IP 3203, 3201, these are one okay. You see here 31.8.134. Here you can see 31.8.134, which is the master node. And remaining things here 31.594. Here you can see that's 31-5.194. This is our worker mission. So you can see some of the specific nodes, some of the specific pods has been created in your worker node. Some of the pods has been created in master node. But if you see here, let me show you. Kube Control Manager, Kube API Server. This is on my worker machine. And see, if you see this WaveNet, I have two pods for the WaveNet. You can see here, Kube system. WaveNet, I have two things. And these two things running on the different ports. 831.134, 31.5.194. It's running on both machines. So some parts of some things in it required to be run on the everything. Those things can be run on either your master node or your worker node. But so reminding that application parts cannot run on your master machines. Application parts cannot run on your master machines. Okay.
So where did we mention that this pod determines it should run on this worker node? If we have multiple worker nodes, means tens of or 10, 15 worker nodes, how it will be decided that particular application will run on worker 1 or 2 or 3? It should be somewhere mentioned, no?
No, that I told, this is again, I told you 2 times. So first thing, you have to mention the taints and tolerations it's required to go on the specific worker mission. That's the one option. Okay. And second option, again, I mentioned here, selector as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Here we haven't mentioned anything, but we haven't mentioned anything again, like worker 1 or 2.
No, I didn't mention it as worker 1, 2 or something, but I mentioned selector. Whatever the worker machine have this selector, that matching label, it can go to that particular thing only. Okay.
Okay.
Even deployment itself, I have like I didn't gone with many, but let me give you. You are like too enthusiastic for that particular concept. Let me take you. Taints and tolerations are node selector. Okay.
Yes.
Node selector. Usually these are the 2 ways you can select. Here in the node selector, you can use label. In this label, you can mention selector label, and the same selector label also, this label also you're going to mention in the particular nodes as well. Okay. In nodes also, you're going to add the label. And you're saying, yes, buddy, this is my label. And what are the matching labels need to be come to that? Then that particular worker node, it has to be generated. That is the one way. Other one is taints and tolerations. Taints and tolerations mean to say you are applying taints to worker nodes. This is the label only. It's not something kind of thing, but it's a label. Okay. What it will do, it will only it will only note these worker machines only allowed on specific label kind of things. Okay. Taints apply to the worker nodes. So worker nodes can pass only label nodes, label pods. And tolerations, you're adding these tolerations to your pods. Pods, and mentioning that these pods only goes to there. These pods only, you were writing 2 things here. The net now here in these taints, you are restricting to only these particular label kind of things only need to become. Here also, I'm telling only these particular parts, these particular tolerations only you have to add to the parts. Okay. Instead of parts, you can say deploy things. You're applying it to the deployment and saying, yes, you have to go here only. One thing you say, I'm only eligible, okay, I in an example tell you, you have in a college, you say only, you can say only only males are eligible here. This college, for this room, only male people are eligible. And while you're doing also, you are a male, you have to go to that particular room only. You are restricted in the 2 ways. Okay, one way, that is a male room, and other way, you are generating, you're a male, go to that room only. This is how we guidance in that. That's what you call taints and tolerations. And other one, you are labeling, you are a man. Okay, you are a man. There is a man label, go to there. That's also one of the process you are assigning it that. But you say it is only matching label it allowing. And also other than you have to restrict it, you say, yes, this is only label required to take it up. Both works on the label concept only, but that is one advanced concept. This is a generic concept to tell you.
Okay. So this also we can add to this deployment .ml.
You have to add the tolerations. You have to add it to your deployment. Inside after this, before the stack, you can write tolerations. You have to add and label. What label you want to add. So now you have to write all the toleration details here. Okay.
Okay.
But I already gave selector here. Okay, matching label selector. It will goes on that particular label of particular node only. It will goes on that one. Any other questions? Okay, so suppose
Shiva, one thing.
yes.
So there are lots of pods will be there. So how to manage those pods? Like suppose I want to kill some kind of pods, restart the pods. So any tool you are using, or you are using this commands only?
No, sir. That I go with this particular command only. I don't have like, even if I have 1,000, if I have 5,000 pods also, you can't like you won't maintain 5,000 even 1,000 pods in one particular namespace. So it will see the section how it comes right from the namespace, and again deployment, from the deployment again pods. That's how it will be, like hierarchy will be happen. So my namespace, suppose like enter my Kubernetes, I have 2,000 pods. In entire my Kubernetes, I have 2,000 pods where I have five namespaces. Each namespace, how many it contains? One namespace. There I have how many deployments. Suppose here in this deployment, I have like 3 pods. I can say 3 pods here. A similar manner, I have to see how many pods I have for the deployment level. So that's way I can chop it up into the bits. Like I can directly go to the which specific pod I want to have. I can go to there.
So particular tool we are not using.
Oh, sir, your voice very low, sir. Can you pardon your question, please?
Any kind of particular tool we are not using to manage those things.
No, like either you can use CLI or you can create a dashboard. That is also a separate tool you have to write. That is a separate configuration files. There are like a plenty of configuration files you have to add. Once you add that, you can see those things on your UI. Other than that, but concept is the same. Either you have to go to the there also you have to go to the namespace. There also you have to go to the deployment. You can see the how many pods you have. You don't have any separate tool like to maintain the pods.
Okay, got it. Yeah. Thank you.
So anyway, I told like I have describe command. Let me go to the describe command for this particular deployment. I'm going on kubectl describe deploy, and this thing -n. I have to mention these details. If I mention describe, it gave me like a lot of information. What kind of information it gave me to me? It says name as Nginx deploy, namespace star as May, creation date, and labels here, apps Nginx, annotations, deployment.kubernetes revision 1, and selector and replicas, and the strategy type here. They provided a strategic type here, as well as rolling update strategy here, as 25 max unavailable and 25 max as the searches. These are the when it required to have it automatically roll up a strategy. It says like a max 25% unavailability. If like 25% unavailability is happen, it automatically create a new replica. It will be created. So, but here now first thing I have to see what is this strategy type. First we have to understand what is this strategy type. So to deploy, to say suppose now you deploy one particular node. So second time you want to deploy again, you are like doing one more time deploy. You're launching you're updating or upgrading things. You're doing all those things. So how those things can be happen? How those things can be happen? So if you see those things. It is purely mentioning on the what strategy type it has. Suppose I have existing application is running. I want to update. I want to upgrade my system. How can I upgrade that? To say I have created a new jar now. I want to replicate. I want to replace that jar with existing jar. How can I do that one? So that is the reason. If you see, like as I told, right, downtime. So what they do, they'll down their application. Mean to say, then the application won't accessible. Then they'll replace the packages, the old packages to new packages. That is the kind of these things. But here we have some Kubernetes has been providing some kind of deployment strategies as to do your upgrades. Your upgrades are your, like, a recreation of your deployment, are doing a deployment kind of things. So what those are the strategies? If you see here, first one is rolling update. You can see here, that is rolling update. It is a default. And even if you not mention what kind of a type or what kind of strategy type it is, it automatically take that as a rolling update. Rolling update. Next one is recreate. It will do recreate everything. Whatever it has. Whatever it has, it will do the recreate. Okay, it will automatically try to do recreate everything. Okay, next is blue green. Okay, blue green. After that, they have a plenty of canary deployment. They have different types of deployments, but that is like like more on like a very rare case you're gonna use. But anyway, I'll explain you like this thing. You'll understand what kind of what is the use of by providing these deployments. Suppose like for like I have an application is running, like my application is running. I have a particular specific jar. I have a specific image is been there, and I created containers on that one. Now there is changes happen on that particular image. Now I have to create. Now I have to create a new containers for that one in the place of previous deployment or previous release kind of thing. I have to replace those things. If you're required to replace those things, how efficiently you can do that replacement? How efficiently you can do the replacement? The first one is rolling deployment, rolling update. By using rolling update, so what it will rolling update do, right? Rolling update, it will try to first create a newer version of your pods. So, okay, for certain time, suppose you have 3 pods here. So for what it will do, first it will try to create a new release pod one time, and one was able to upper. Then it will delete the second one, previous one, and again it try to up second release 2, like release part 2, release part 2 up. It will delete the previous part 2. Then again it goes for the third one. So it says like new release part 3. It is up and running. It will delete this thing unless it makes sure that newer release parts are came up and running. Then only it will delete my previous things. Okay, it will delete my previous thing. It goes and one by one. It do the rolling, like it will do how ball rolling it, right? Similarly, it will roll out, like it will roll out of your previous deployments with your newer release deployments. That's how you won't have a downtime. It will do it in a fraction of seconds. It do a fraction of seconds. Let me show you. Guys, am I audible? I hope my voice is clear.
Yes.
I just clear this thing. Now I have my I have VI deployment I have here. Sorry, it is ng deploy. I just have here. Now what I'm doing here in stuff, this is all the same things. I'm taking the image as, I'll take the different version of image. So here I'm checking the different tags here. So I'll take 1.2, 1.23.4 or 1.23. Okay, I'm just taking that as this thing. Now I have to again do a deployment. I was taking again kubectl apply -f command. Just taking again kubectl apply command. Shit. Here 4 pods are running. Let me delete this thing. Okay, first let me delete this thing. Kubectl apply delete pod. Let me remove all these things. Let me write the commands again. It would be easy for me to do take care. So first thing, let me take here. Okay, remove this thing. Kubectl get deploy -n star. Let's say -n. Here I have. So this is one deployment I have. Now what I'm taking kubectl get insert get deploy give get pods. So these are the pods, but it's running on the 94 seconds, 19 seconds, and 97 seconds. Now again, let me change one more time. This time I'll change it to the different version, 1.23.4. I'll change it to a different thing like as stable stable. Just change this thing. I'm just doing apply. I'm again reapplying this thing. Again configure. See here, it is in container creating state. A new deployment. See here, this is also still it is in container, but this came is 9 seconds back and it deleted and it is container created one more time. This time I have everything as a fresh kind of thing. See here, first time is creating this container, which are like all 2 seconds, 2 minutes, all the backup containers. So here it created container and make sure this container up and running. It deleted one of the 2 minutes container. You can see here now by this time you have only 2 minutes container one and one running container has 9 seconds. And after that, it is trying to create a container in 3 seconds back. By that time, like I already took late. So by this time, it says all 3 containers has been created with a fraction of seconds, and it was able to delete all 2 minutes, 2 minutes kind of 2 minutes of parts which are deleted kind of thing. These are, inside like fraction of seconds. It won't take it up like time, and also it won't have a downtime. It will make sure that the existing previous release parts goes out and new release parts only coming up. Then only it will goes on that one. Okay, do you understand?
Yes.
Okay, someone is asking question, right? Like in my previous, in their previous organization, something. What's the question now?
I forgot. What was that?
Sorry?
I'm not able to recall now. What I just
No, you said like you have a newer release pods or some issue, then you connected with your DevOps team. They'll
Yes,
create
sir.
ticket something, right?
Yeah.
Hello?
I asked questions, Ashish here. So,
Yeah. Okay. Can you pardon the question, please?
Like once the release could happen, sometime we observe that the pods are pointing to previous release versions.
Okay.
So for that we release a DevOps tickets so that they can make the pods pointing to the current release.
Okay, so actually here, right, like if I do the deployment configs, if the deployment configs roll out properly, then it will roll out your things. Or else, if my if this is been, if suppose this is in container creating state, or this don't have a resources, this in container creating state, or this is in pending state, or something in a different reason. If this application, the newer releases was been into the pending or like unable to push that, it will be there your older releases or details only. Once this deployment config done, or like if deployment has been rolled out properly, then only your newer releases will be applied here. Or else you'll still seeing the old previous release parts only, and you can see you can only access your previous release versions only. But until unless if your parts of your your containers has been created, or like this entire thing is rolled out, then only you can able to view your newer release versions actually. So your DevOps team go here, check any deployment configs are pending, any deployment concepts are working something, then they'll go and they'll check, they'll identify, they'll do the redeploy those things. Or if any parts are in creation state, pending state, any parts are in some any error reason, or like suppose, let me show you. Same thing, let me show you one example here. I'm doing this thing. In this table, I don't know, I'm mistakenly gave a wrong image here. Mistakenly gave wrong image here. I don't have that image. Okay, now I'm doing kubectl get parts. So okay, I'm just applied these things. See here, it says three things are still running. Mean to say my previous application was there. It's not something issue with my previous application. When the new deployment trying to do, it says error image full. So it says it was unable to find that image. So now it won't show like my existing new release versions. Still, it has been pointed to my previous release only. Here, newer release been into the pending state or like in the error state. This is how I can see now. I can't see the newer versions. Even if deployment has been triggered here, I can see this apply has been configured. Apply happened, but due to some reason here I was unable to pull or unable to get the latest release versions. Now, if you ask with the deployment team, or if you ask your DevOps team, they'll come, they'll see why this is error image pull. They'll go and they'll see logs. They see okay, kubectl logs. Okay, this is a pod. Okay, let me write. It says pod not found. Since it is not came the pod, it was not able to see. See here, it is error image pullback error. It gave me a kind of this thing. You can do it describe as well. kubectl describe pod, and you can give this pod, and you have to provide these details. Now we can see here, see successfully assigned backup image, pulling image, failed to pull image, failed to resolve references. It says it has unable to found that image. Now you're going to see, okay, what is the issue on this thing and how you're going on here. You're going on those things and you're able to rectify the things, and you can again reapply. Then automatically your new features or new release will be happened. So therefore, for troubleshooting this activity, only creating ticket to your DevOps team. Does it make sense, sir?
Yes, sir.
Just next time ask your DevOps team and you raise a ticket and told them you want to see just see what they're doing, like they're deleting the deployments or how they're doing, or they maybe delete the deployment and reapply the deployment configs, or like you just work with them and see, like now you'll understand what they're doing as well. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the one, like you can apply similarly. Recreate also, every time it will do recreate. How you want to apply this here? Have to come here, in here, have to write as a type. Write as a strategy. Here is this thing. So again, you're writing strategy type here. Or else recreate. Okay, this is the way you can, but recreate, even it has a downtime. Recreate have a downtime. What it will recreate, it will do recreate, whether it is it won't wait for the scaling, whether it won't wait for the newer parts come up or not, it will do this thing. It has a downtime. Okay, recreate have a downtime. If you are okay to downtime, and if you want to create everything as a freshly new deployment kind of thing, you're going on your recreate. Okay, that is the one type of deployment. And next is the blue-green deployment. That's a very, very common interview question. Hey, have you ever used blue-green deployments, and why you want to use blue-green deployments? Okay, so what is this blue-green deployments? Before going on blue-green deployments, like I want a general question. How many guys are doing the Flipkart and Amazon?
I think all of us.
All of us. So have you purchased in recently when any festival, like what you call some these things, even
yes,
some big sale, big they have, right? So
yes.
some big sales has been happening. Most of the time, like you definitely sure you purchase in that item, in offer time, like those kind of situations. Okay, they say like, okay, sale about to start from 18 to 20, or like a sale start from 20th 12 o'clock to 22nd 12 o'clock, 12 p.m. 12 a.m. Here there is a, so they're saying like, okay, yes, sale start about 12 a.m. mean to say, if you log in by the 12:05 also, you can see the offer changes. Like if they say like credit card applies, you can, after the 12:05 also, you can see the credit card applies kind of configuration. Okay, if you say a similar thing after 22 11:59, if you log in by the 12:03 also, you won't see the offers. So within the 3 minutes that you mean to say, within the 3 minutes they're going to do the deployment. Within the 3 minutes they're going to do many of the things. No, how the background works? The background works with a blue-green deployment. Flipkart using blue-green, and Amazon, Walmart, they are all using the blue-green deployment only. Blue-green deployment is one of the strategy. They maintain two servers. One is blue server, one is the green server. Okay, one is a blue server, one is the green server. Suppose if they want to, like they're maintaining all the regular items in the blue server. Okay, all the regular items they want to maintain the blue server. Now after applies of or all those things, they want to maintain the green server. Blue server is the general server, green server is the offer server. Now what they do, like they do the deployments of anything, like suppose this thing goes on some specific time. No, I want to make these changes to the deployment server. So you do the rolling, all those things you do. But other thing along with the rolling, or like along with the blue green, you have to do one more, changing their traffic load balancers. You have to change their load balancer type. Here you have to mention load balancer, and it's pointing out to the traffic has been routing it to from blue servers to the green server. You simply route the traffic from blue servers to the green server. That's it. If they won't do the deployment type here, they won't change something. They simply change here their
their like a traffic they routed to the green servers. Now that it is pointed to the green servers. After the green server pointing to, like again, they're routing the traffic from green servers to the blue servers. After your offer period are completed, again they route the traffic from here to here. To route the traffic, that is a strategy you have to use load balancer for your blue-green kind of thing. But what's kind of type you have to use here? It is a blue, green. So that is a one strategy in your retail market or e-commerce. Most of them uses the blue-green deployments only. It is a costly service. It's a kind of a costly kind of thing, but everyone most of the times uses the same thing. Okay. Any questions?
So means how it will switch from blue to green or green to blue.
That's what they do. They route the traffic from blue-green to blue servers to the green server by using the load balancer.
Okay.
That is the next concept. Your services.
Mhm.
So services, we have services here in Kubernetes. These services will define you how you have to get the traffic to your particular parts or your applications which resides in particular parts. How your service has to be, how your services has to be, how like your parts have to be communicated, how your parts can be communicated. So your parts require to be communicated internally, or your parts required to be communicated. Your part expose it to the outside of internet. You just do www.google.com. You have to get your application. www.starsli-may.com. You have to get your application open. Like how you have to expose your application and how your internal part-to-part communication can be happen. Those all kind of things what you call service. That's the one way you can define that is a service. You ask like, what kubeproxy do, right? Kubeproxy enabling these things. These are the network things is enabling one of the responsibility by kubeproxy. Okay.
Yes.
So if you see the services, you have three types. One is cluster IP. Next one is node port. Next one is load balancer. So cluster IP mean to say it is the internal. It is a internal. It is the internal. Mean to say this particular. If I assign a service to a pod, so every deployment, a service been mapped to every deployment. Suppose I have a deployment. So every deployment will have one corresponding service, whether it's a cluster IP or whether it's a node port. So like based on you are like, okay, I want to expose this particular deployment, this particular parts, whatever here in the parts, if I want to expose it to the outside, that you are giving it as a node port. Say exposed to internet. And next is load balancer. This is also a kind of load balancer only, but this exposing thing happens through the load balancer. This exposing happen with the load balancer. This specifically cloud services. Load balancer is purely cloud services. Okay, so but node port cluster IP not required to have a not required to have anything. This is also again you're going to create one more configuration file called kind of service. Kind of service, and you are applying that. Okay, this part can be in a cluster IP. This part required to be in node port. This part required to be in here. Let me show you like any of the services which I have enabled till now. kubectl get service. So here I have one kind of service saying that it is a cluster IP and external IP no, ports also 443 TCP. This has been an 124 minutes back, which is Kubernetes. This type is cluster IP. Mean to say it's a purely internal related network, kind of they're mentioning. It is an internal service. So similar manner, you have to create one more service. That service can be a node port. Let me write it up, node port service. Okay, then you'll understand. You'll see the differences between those things. Any questions here, guys?
No, I need to understand these things.
No.
Sorry. It will take a lot of practice, man, to do this. Lot of practice you require to have.
Yes, yes.
Yes, exactly.
You know, as I told, right? Like, I don't know, but this thing like Kubernetes, 4 to 5 hours is very like low. It's not that much you can cover. That I'm very frankly, I'm telling you, 4 to 5 hours for the Kubernetes is not very much good. At least you require to have a 7 to 8 hours. Then only your Kubernetes you can able to make it up. Little bit things in the Kubernetes. But you guys just choose the fast track and less hours. And I'm trying to do the best as I can. Because these are the very new terminology. It's not something, you know, see, like a developers, you know, Java developers, maybe it's something they get it with a Maven. While we're telling about the Maven, they get some information. Tester, like, you know, they may get some information. But you know, when it comes to the Kubernetes, all the people, like till now, whoever they have, right? They don't have, no one have anything here. Everyone will be kind of new to here. Like everyone need to be learned, whether you're a fresher or you're an experienced person. Everything everyone is learning here as a new to the DevOps. So that's the reason everyone required time to practice, the time to understand the like digest the things. Am I right?
Yes, exactly.
If you ask me, I'm sure, you know, in 2019 time, if someone says like they know Kubernetes, we hire them. That's it. If someone says they're good with Kubernetes, we hire them. And sometimes I'm giving a you know, I don't know. Later on, I came to know. I hired a few people one lesser band with me, one lesser designation, but they're earning more than me. Then I thought, okay, maybe if you're sitting one company, it is not something, you know, going on. And I changed the company. That time only I came to know how much market can offer for a DevOps people who knows Kubernetes. Here also you can write selector and your label. Now here you have to write the protocol details. So that you have to write ports. It's internal TCP only. And I have to write ports. Port 80. And target port for this thing. I can say 9376, 97989, anything, whatever I want to have target port. I want to write some kind of target port. Here I have to write a service. Here I have to write a type. If I set type equal to node port. So now let me write this service. So here you can see this is a selector wherein from my deployment. Let me show you that as well. I'm just writing this thing. VA, you can see service, .yaml. I can say protocol TCP. So kind is service, not services. Okay. kubectl apply -f -n star SL -me. Yes, sir, I require to write a file name. Say service nginx service created. Let me write the same service here. Here I'm getting only one service. If I use -n, here it see it's service nginx node port cluster IP none, and you can see here this port has been have different thing. Let me show you one more thing here, like let me show you the comparison. Can you see the both comparison here?
Yes.
What is the comparison? Other comparison you have here?
Ports are different and
Cluster IP different.
cluster IP.
Now cluster IP, it can be like instead of the cluster, it can be have. But
Yes,
see, this
the
the
port
port is
ID.
allocated here. That as a new
Yes.
port. If you see, if I do the describe here, kubectl describe service nginx service -n *sl -me. Can you see here? Namespace, labels none, annotation none, selector apps, node port, and here see here endpoints. It says like see 10.4401, 10.4403, 10.4403. This is the port it given to me. Endpoints. What is the pod IP here?
Yes.
So 1, 3, 4. 1, 3, 4, where 2 has some issues.
Yes.
It is error pullback error. So it has been pointed out to these particular nodes only, this particular deployment kind of things. Because of you have a selector as specific these things. You have a selector of your apps namespace, and you can also add labels to your namespace. You can here also you can add metadata, you can add labels, apps. You can write nginx like this. You can write label as well. Like this, you can write it up, and you can see the endpoints has been pointed to your specifically where you want to provide that it been pointed to your application pods. Okay. Any questions?
What is the use of these services in real life?
Now your application is exposed to internet with the port.
Okay. Okay.
Now your application is exposed to your port. Let me simply change this thing. Okay. Let me show you. So I don't have anything in the pods. When my service has this thing, and I'll go to this master node. I'm going on here. What is the port here? 30531. What is the other worker node? Why it is not coming? It says refuse to connect. One second. Now, if you provide your master node, it has to come site to refuse to connect. Let's see. kubectl get pods -n. Give me a minute, let me check. It's not something issue. One second, let me check. Endpoints is coming. It is not assigned to any node endpoints here for this thing. Service actually blocked the endpoints. Here it has to get your
pods endpoints. Why this endpoints is not came? 1 second. Huh? Why it is not generated endpoints? I think it is not working the port forwarding thing here. And maybe this instance is not given like a wider ranges thing, I think. Now you have to check like why it is not able to create an endpoint. It might be like, your EC2 instance is blocking a kind of thing. Let me ping. I think it is working, but it's not refusing connection because of endpoints was not properly. I can see the service have endpoints, right? I shown you like a describe command also, but why it is not coming? Given 813, let me see. 31813. Required to show Nginx page. A kind of welcome to Nginx. Might be it is blocking by some kind of firewall or some kind of specific ports was not able or something. But anyway, this is how we can generated your service. So the cluster IP or node port or load balancer. So what type of you want to have, which kind of service you want to have, you can write the service and you can select it, you can write the label, all those things you can write it up here as this specific thing. It automatically take it from your these things. Any questions here?
No, from my end, Shiva.
Okay, so we already time out for the day, and
Yes.
we have to cover a few things, securities, service accounts, those things, and tomorrow we will go this thing and further concepts of the remaining things. But we are lacking a course, so but we goes on a little bit slower. We go on the same flow, but tomorrow we will take more extra half an hour. Okay,
Sure.
or else we cannot cover like a full syllabus.
Okay, sure.
And tomorrow I'll cover up Kubernetes, and as well as I cover up, I'm gonna cover these things like what you called monitoring tool. Okay. Okay. Both I can cover up things because monitoring tool like for installation itself, it will take 40 minutes. If I run one command, it will take 40 to 50 minutes. Usually minimum to minimum, it will take 40 minutes to install. So that time I can utilize for the Kubernetes kind of thing. And some of your questions, answering kind of things, we can take it up things. Okay.
Okay.
But I'm not taking my my EC2 instances. I want someone you to be have a Kubernetes cluster ready so that I can utilize your cluster. Okay. I don't want to use my cluster. I don't want to create my Kubernetes cluster. I want your cluster, someone cluster. I share that these things. I'm anyway, I'm about to share these kind of things and the class notes as well. But I want I want to utilize someone's Kubernetes cluster. So you can ready it by tomorrow, like whoever doing that, you can ready it by tomorrow. Or else like inform me so that no one is going to create a cluster or no one have create a cluster before the class. I'll can create cluster before the session start itself.
So what monitoring tools we are going to cover to the start?
Nagios.
Nagios.
Nagios we will cover the Nagios. And if possible, we will also cover like Jenkins, like so this, I think this is like after this weekend, next weekend is a final weekend, right?
Yes.
So we have Ansible, Chef, and we have some AWS sessions, like AWS DevOps is also pending. And any other pending items?
Terraform.
Terraform. Oops. Terraform will take like 45 to 50 minutes only, not that. Max will cover to Terraform as well tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
See
Okay,
you guys.
Shiva. Good night.
Yep. Thank you.
Good night all.
Okay. Good night, everyone.